Hey everyone, welcome to the MedTech Innovator Showcase here at the Wilson Sonsini Annual Medical Device Conference. I'm Paul Grand, I'm the CEO of MedTech Innovator, and this is the 9th year that we've been doing this at the Wilson Sonsini Annual Medical Device Conference. You're in luck because today you're going to have a chance to meet 25 of the most exciting emerging companies in the med tech industry. Now, let me give you a little bit of context as to how we got here today and how these companies showed up for this showcase. So MedTech Innovator is an accelerator. We are actually the largest accelerator of medical devices in the entire world. We've been doing this now for 9 years, incredibly. And within our company's process, we operate a lot like a venture capital fund. We work through a diligence process that starts with a funnel, just like any fund would or any entity that's screening lots of companies. This year, we had over 1,100 companies apply to be part of the MedTech Innovator program. And these are companies from all over the world. We're not focused on any one particular ecosystem. We're not focused on one particular region or even a clinical area. We are focused on finding the best companies in the entire world. That's our goal. We want to find the emerging companies that all of us believe should be the products that are on the market, the products that all of us want to see helping patients, the products that if one of us was in a hospital or one of us was in need, even if we were at home and we had some medical need, it doesn't really matter. The point is, we want to see these products on the market. As an industry, we partner with 23 different corporate partners from all areas of the stakeholder ecosystem. We have companies that are investors that are our partners, foundations. We have federal agencies such as the DOD through an organization called MTech. We partner with the FDA as a sub-awardee of a children's pediatric cohort called the NCC PDI, which is the National Capital Consortium for Pediatric Device Innovation. We're also funded directly by BARDA as an accelerator for health security innovations. And then we partner with leading strategics, companies like J&J and Baxter and Olympus and Nipro Medical Corporation, and many, many others who I'll be mentioning at different times throughout our program. But importantly, these are some of the leading organizations in our industry, and we've all come together to make sure that the startups that we think should be successful really are successful. So over the last 7 months, we have been reviewing applications and meeting directly with companies to choose the companies that are part of our annual program. In total, there are 50 companies in our main, what we call our US cohort. And those are companies that are focused on the US market as their initial point of entry. And these companies are global. They're from all over the world, as far as Australia. And certainly locally, we have companies from all over the US. Within that cohort, we have 25 companies that are earlier stage. We call them our accelerator companies. We have another 25 companies that are more mid-stage, and you're going to be getting a chance to see those companies today. We also have another 5 companies that are part of that pediatric consortia or pediatric cohort that I mentioned earlier. So in total, 55 companies presenting here at the Wilson Sonsini Conference. We also have an Asia Pacific cohort with another 20 companies that will be presenting in concert with the APAC Med organization. And we're going to have 10 more companies as part of our BioTools cohort. So 85 companies in total. Again, these were screened from over 1,800 companies who applied to be part of all of our different programs this year. So coming back to today's showcase, you're going to have a chance to see 25 really exciting companies that, again, what I would say are our mid-stage companies. These are companies that generally are at the Series B stage or later. They either have products that are generally clinical in stage or on the market. So I'm really excited to present these companies. We're going to have each company do a presentation followed by a couple minutes for Q&A. If you're using the conference widget, which is right over here on the side, you'll see a box where you can enter your questions for our Q&A. So I encourage you, while you're watching the video, as you're listening to the pitch here from the presenter, that's the time to queue up your questions in the Q&A so that as we come out of the presentation, I can immediately ask your questions. I'm going to focus on that box, and I'm going to try and get every one of your questions answered in the time that's allotted. If you see a question that someone else has already queued up for a company that you like, just click the little vote button to bump it up. Actually, I think it's an arrow to bump up that company in priority. If I don't get to your questions, that's okay. These companies are available for partnering during the conference, and you're going to have a chance to meet with them. So with that, let's go ahead and present our first company, which is going to be Neuromodulation Medical, with Brian Shields, the CEO, presenting. So let's hear the Neuromodulation Medical story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Shields, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Neuromodulation Medical. Neuromodulation Medical is a clinical stage medical device company addressing inflammatory conditions of the nose. Our initial offering is the treatment of chronic rhinitis. So rhinitis is more than just allergy or runny nose. More than 1 in 4 people have the disease. It's the 5th most common chronic disease out there. And for those with severe disease, its impact on quality of life is comparable with diabetes and hypertension. The nasal cavity is complex with specific anatomy to regulate and humidify airflow. Nasal mucosa contains branches of parasympathetic nerves that control functions such as vasodilation and mucus production. So heightened mucus secretion and increased vasodilation are both caused by hyperactive parasympathetic nerves, which results in the development of chronic rhinitis. A patient's primary complaints causing them to seek out an ENT for treatment include nasal congestion and rhinorrhea. Neuromark, our initial device offering, offers a safe and effective treatment targeting the innervation pathways for chronic rhinitis under local anesthetic and in an ENT office setting. The device delivers low power RF at only 2.5 watts to multiple nerve-rich locations with a single device placement, and then uses proprietary biofeedback algorithms to create precise microlesions, therefore maintaining very high levels of safety. We've conducted multiple preclinical studies to build confidence around safety and mode of action. We've logged thousands of hours of virtual modeling, reducing cost of development. We've run successful clinical studies, proving safety and positive patient experience, as well as providing excellent efficacy signals. We're currently enrolling a large randomized controlled study in the US. We are focusing on the US and the ENTs in the US in the first instance, although this does have an obvious global reach. We're initially focusing on severe non-allergic patients and severe perennial allergic patients. This is a very large market, and there's an obvious growth opportunities here. Distilling down the slide for brevity, for the surgeon, we minimize collateral damage, we remove the guesswork, we provide a one-size-fits-all solution. For the patient, it's very simple, it works, it is safe, and it is a good experience. All of this protected by a broad IP portfolio. The Neuromark product has a 510K regulatory path, which we're in the final stages of. We'll be hiring a direct sales force later this year, selling directly to a physician's office, a market that's growing significantly as a result of COVID-19. Our commercial model is built on single-use disposable devices. We've recently added decades of commercial ENT experience to the management team in Prasad Nalluri and Brent Schreiner, as well as a deeply experienced CFO in Declan Daly. We have a clinical advisory board that is the who's who of international KOLs in rhinology. So again, my name is Brian Shields. I'm the CEO of Neuromodulation Medical. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, Brian, welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
So what a terrific story. Very exciting. Now, one of the things that I know comes up a lot when we talk to investors and other people who are on the healthcare side, usually on the health system side, is evidence and proving the value of what you're developing. You're a 510K device, which means you're substantially equivalent to something else, right? But you want to show that you're much better, obviously, so that you can get adoption. So tell us a little bit quickly about how you're going to prove that, your product is better than the available standard of care.
Well, in a couple of ways. So we've been very methodical in evidence building, right from bench through preclinical and now clinical. So we have a feasibility study done. We've 12 months of data gathered for it, but we're now 50 patients into a 120 patient randomized, blinded randomized control study. That's a sham control. That is a very high level of evidence. That's just to get us out there. ENTs, in the way they operate in their practice, they want that clinical evidence just as a bar to get into their office. They'll then need to see it themselves. A big part of this is what is the patient experience? You heard it there in the presentation. They're very sensitive about the patient and the experience that patient has. You're with an ENT for life. It's not as transaction oriented as, let's say, orthopedics, which is more obvious. You're with them from childhood to old age. So it matters deeply to them, the patient experience here. And we've proven to be a very good experience for all of the patients we've treated so far.
That's excellent. Great to hear that the patient experience has been so strong and the ENTs are so supportive. So let's talk a little bit about investment. So I know, that, that's a big part of the process for all medtech companies. Tell us a little bit about where you are in the fundraising cycle and what you're looking for from your investors. What kind of investors are you seeking?
So we've just closed the Series B in late December of last year. Really a year to forget from a fundraising perspective, particularly here in Ireland. That was in dollars, about a $26 million Series B. We have an incredible group of investors on board from the outset. It's something that we look very closely at, is the type of investor we want, the DNA, and that it works with us and our journey. What we're looking going forward is very simple. Given the learnings from last year and how shrinked your network becomes during something like 2020, and we relied on existing relationships that we had, I want to start building those relationships early as we start looking at our growth round. That's a bit away yet, but it never hurts having those conversations. And I've already had some of them yesterday at the first day of the conference.
That's terrific. Well, to that point, I know you're here for partnering. I know that that's what the point. One of the points of this conference is. So I encourage everyone to reach out to you to follow up. This is a terrific story. I don't think I made it clear in the intro, but every single one of the companies that was selected for our program was selected because they had strategic interest expressed in them. Yours included here at Neuron. So I'm very excited to have you in the program this year and to be featuring you here at the conference, and looking forward to spending more time together.
Thank you very much, Paul. Hopefully face-to-face at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Face-to-face for sure. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Paul.
All right.
Thanks,
Good to
everyone.
see you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. So now we're going to bring up our next company, which is Pre-gnostics.
Hello, my name is Bobby Reddy, the CEO and co-founder of Pre-gnostics. Pre-gnostics is revolutionizing the clinical diagnostics market with the generation of a whole new category of diagnostics that we like to call precision and predictive diagnostics, or pre-gnostics for short. Pre-gnostics helps us run diagnostic tests well before a patient crashes, as opposed to waiting for a debilitating event to occur before you order that diagnostic test. In order to do this, we use sophisticated machine learning algorithms that leverage a combination of, one, broad clinical data that is routinely available today, with two, deep molecular and biological data that is not routinely measured today. We present the results of these to interpretable software interfaces in order to build trust and intuition with our end physician users. Our first focus is on sepsis, which is basically when an infection gets out of control. Unfortunately, sepsis costs more lives worldwide than all cancers combined together. A large part of the reason for this unacceptable mortality is the lack of a good sepsis diagnostic. For example, even though more than 80% of sepsis is first suspected in the ED in the United States, there is only currently one FDA-cleared diagnostic for sepsis in the ED. And not many people actually use this diagnostic. Instead, they typically use 4 different items that are not much better than a coin flip. when it comes to identifying sepsis in emergency department. Our product, the Sepsis Immunoscore, holistically incorporates 23 different parameters from many different dimensions, 3 biomarkers, 6 vitals, 11 existing labs, and 3 demographic parameters are all combined together into a proprietary machine learning algorithm that then outputs objectively a patient's chances of having sepsis, a 30-day mortality event, a long length of stay in the hospital, and a 30-day readmission event. All of this is presented directly to an easy-to-use software interface that is displayed inside the electronic medical record for convenient use. This product is really easy to implement and takes less than 6 weeks to input into any given hospital. This diagnostic has much higher performance than the existing standard of care, as well as the one FDA-cleared diagnostic that is currently available today. We're well on track to submit this to the FDA before the end of the year. This is a de novo submission that we expect to achieve approval by mid-2022. This is solving a huge problem in hospitals who are losing close to $30,000 per sepsis case, are in violation of CMS sepsis guidelines in more than 50% of sepsis cases. This product also has the potential to save more than $1,500 per patient suspected of sepsis in the hospital, or close to $10 billion if it was implemented across the United States. In summary, we have a revolutionary technology. We're addressing a huge market. We have a clear regulatory pathway, and we also have very strong partnerships, including a multi-million-dollar partnership with a world leader in clinical diagnostics. Thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to answering questions.
Welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Paul.
So again, tremendous company, great story. You've got, I remember when I first heard about it, we were extremely excited because we've seen so much in the sepsis space, and yet there's still such unmet need. So maybe you could take a minute and just tell us, you've been successful in a way that some of the other ones that are out there, or other people who've been working to try and get here have not. One of the questions that we have in the audience for you is, can you please describe the patient experience with your product? And more specifically, can you provide more details on the amount of time for a sample to be taken to get to a clinical decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the patient perspective, if they're feeling sick, then they may go to the ED. Once they go to the ED, if they're showing any signs that could be predictive of sepsis, then this test would be ordered. This test is a multidimensional test that incorporates biomarkers, vitals, labs, so it's very holistic in terms of evaluation of the patient. So at that point, typical blood samples are collected, and this usually happens anyway when a patient goes to the ED. Usually they're going to get like a CBC, a CMP, maybe a lactate order. So these kind of typical blood measurements happen, and then in parallel to that, we also do these measurements of these extra biomarkers. That turnaround time is usually 30 minutes to an hour. All of that data comes back in, and then the physician can make a decision.
That's great. And in your experience, when you're working with physicians, is that time frame one that they're excited about? Is this faster than they're expecting, or do they want to see these things come faster?
Yeah, so this is a time frame that they're used to. Currently, most physicians are going to wait for at least the white cell count to come back before they make a decision in kind of current standard of care. We've seen that the white cell count is almost useless when it comes to identifying sepsis, but it is kind of what they wait for. So they're used to this time frame for those labs to come back. And the sepsis Immunoscore doesn't take any longer than a white cell count to come back.
All right, great. So quickly for investors, tell us where you are in that cycle and what you're looking for from investor partners.
Yeah, so our company's pretty well funded through the end of 2022. So we're always looking out for strategic partners and strategic investment. So we could do a $2 to $3 million round if we had the right partners. But as of right now, we're pretty well capitalized.
That's excellent. Good. Well, this is a partnering conference, so I'm sure people are reaching out to you, and I expect that they'll continue to do that. You're part of our showcase group, so you'll be connected with people throughout the year. But we're really excited to have you in the program. This is, as I said before, such an important area, and you really kind of impressed everyone on our selection committee. So really great to have you here.
Thanks so much, Paul, for the opportunity and for this great program.
All right. Thank you. All right. Have a good rest of your conference.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. See you soon. All right. So next up, Another exciting company, Bluegrass Vascular Technologies.
Hello, I'm Gabi Niederauer, CEO of Bluegrass Vascular Technologies. We're a commercial stage medical device company innovating life-saving devices. Placement of central venous catheters is the most frequently performed hospital procedure, with over 6 million catheters placed each year. Catheters are used for a wide variety of therapies. However, when they reside in the body, they irritate the veins, leading to a thrombosis rate of up to 52%, which can then progress to permanent obstructions. That is our target application. This is important because each person only has 4 upper body access points, with the right internal jugular being the preferred. When the right AJ gets obstructed, physicians will go to the left, ultimately leading to obstruction of all central veins, causing major complications. The addressable market includes the 1.3 million patients each year that are on a long-term catheter, with up to 213,000 patients a year suffering from at least one symptomatic obstruction. Most severe are the patients that have all 4 central veins obstructed and desperately need a lifeline. That's 27,000 new patients each year. Based on that incidence and prevalence in our ASPs in Europe and the US, the total opportunity is up to $3.4 billion. The leading product, the Surfacer system, is sold as a convenience kit with all the components needed to perform the procedure. It's single use, provided sterile, with a gross margin of over 90%. Our novel inside-out approach enters in the femoral vein, inserting our device over guide wire and advancing through the central anatomy. Once navigated to the right clavicle and a trajectory set by the C-arm, a needle wires advance to the exit point, followed by insertion of the desired catheter. The product is already approved in key world markets, de-risking the technology significantly. There are no other devices approved for this technique, and our technology is protected by a number of patents and trademarks. Europe has served as our testing ground while waiting on the US approval, which was always deemed the largest market. The Surfacer system has been used in over 70 centers in Europe, with highest number of users in Germany. In the US, nearly 100 doctors are already trained, with lots of inbound requests for the product. We have now collected data on over 200 cases, and 9 peer-reviewed publications cover both our sponsored and independent studies demonstrating the device's robust performance. We've been able to assemble an excellent team with deep experiences, and BVT makes that an attractive business and has all of the key elements for a highly profitable commercial expansion. Thank you for your time.
Okay, welcome, Gabby. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity today.
Yeah, well, listen, let me tell you, it is just absolutely a pleasure to hear the story, because it's, it's got such a possibility for impact. So, when you're out there pitching, I'm always curious to hear, first, what is that value proposition that, that you put out there? It's like your short, compelling value proposition statement. If you're giving it in one quick statement, what would it be?
It's preserving the central venous real estate for patients by keeping them on the right internal jugular for the central venous access. We're really impacting their clinical outcomes. It's going to be cost savings to the healthcare systems, and it's just a better access point.
And when you talk about cost savings, give me a little more detail on that. What are you expecting in terms of cost savings?
Sure. Well, what happens now is when the right internal jugular gets obstructed, physicians will go to the left side, ultimately leading to the possibility of obstructing all central veins. At that point, there's very aggressive surgeries or other modalities of getting access that really cost the dialysis providers and the hospital a lot more money to maintain that patient's access. So by repeatedly being able to access in the right internal jugular through our system, we can actually save downstream costs.
Yeah, well, that's super compelling. As I've mentioned, we went through a process just to pick you in the first place, and everyone was certainly very impressed by what you're doing at Bluegrass, and certainly excited about the promise and the opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like going to market. What's your time frame, for not only for, obviously, the market adoption is really, the key here. We want to, in time frame for, in terms of validation, where do you see that?
Well, I think what we've done extremely well is we gathered a lot of experience in Europe. We now have 9 peer-reviewed publications, and we received FDA approval last year. So we're really poised to penetrate the US market with really strong evidence. We've done almost 500 cases, and the data both in our hands and those of independent physicians who've published is consistent. So we really are ready to bring this to as many US patients as possible. And often in cases, it's life-saving.
Well, I'm excited about the ability to have this penetrate in the US market. As you said, we know you're going to have a big impact. You're one of the more exciting companies that's out there, and we're thrilled to have you in the showcase this year.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul. Excited to be part of this showcase.
All right, excellent. And last question for you, Gabby, in terms of fundraising, what's your ideal investor profile?
Yeah, so we've been very efficient. We've only spent a little over $18 million to get us to this point. So we have a current small round open. So we're looking for investors that focus on, commercial expansion as their investment criteria, and also looking at strategic opportunities to help get this important technology to more patients in the US.
Okay, great. Well, terrific. As I said, thrilled to have you in the program this year, Gabby, and a lot excited about doing a lot of good for patients together. Looking forward to working with you in this coming year.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, Gabby. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, another terrific company. Next up, we have Embody.
Hi, I'm Jeff Conroy. I'm the CEO of Embody. We're a medical device company focused on the sports medicine market, and we're reinventing soft tissue healing with our new product, Tapestry. We're focused on a familiar problem, which is mechanical augmentation and soft tissue repair does not stimulate a biologic response. We've developed a platform of technologies that help us engineer collagen-based products that stimulate biology and new tissue healing. We've funded this with over $22 million from DARPA non-dilutive funding, and we've raised over $20 million in our Series A and B funding rounds. We're a commercial stage company now, building a body of evidence to drive revenue growth going forward. We've got a fantastic team who's done this previously, and we've got a product in Tapestry that's optimized physiochemistry for tendon repair. That means we use the power of collagen and our aligned fibrous construction to demonstrate the growth of new, dense, collagenous connective tissue. Tapestry is applicable to a broad range of indications, and while rotator cuff is the largest market opportunity, subscapular reinforcement, Achilles tendon, peroneal, patellar, we're being used right now in 9 different indications, and we'll launch rotator cuff in early 2022. Beyond the Tapestry platform, we're building Microbraid, which is a collagen-enhanced suture. The future for us is the suture is the implant with regenerative, resorbable products that stimulate soft tissue healing while exhibiting load-bearing characteristics. Commercial strategy now is this is all about evidence generation. We've started a range of clinical case series that will give us readouts for medical education in late 21 and early 22. And we've built a hybrid model of distributors and direct reps to drive revenue opportunity, market access ourselves. And we see a vision here to build a $100 million revenue company with 3 different products being launched over the next 18 months. And the highlights are that we've brought novelty in our manufacturing processes for collagen to to build Tapestry, a differentiable product for soft tissue repair, organized in a rotator cuff system, fully arthroscopic instrumented system, which will launch in early next year, de-risked with funding from DARPA, high margin business, and a broad use of patents, broad patent portfolio. We're finishing our Series B now, and we'll use those funds for evidence generation, commercial execution, and further product development. Very happy to be a part of the MedTech Innovator program, and thank you for listening to me today.
All right, so that was Embody. As you guys know, this is a partnering conference. I know Jeff Conroy is available, the CEO. He couldn't join us this morning for the this part of the Q&A. So I encourage you to reach out to Jeff through the partnering system in the conference, and you will be able to connect with him. You can also reach out to us at medtechinnovator.org. I'm Paul at medtechinnovator.org, and I can connect you with Jeff as well. All right, we're going to move on to our next company in the showcase. That is Helionics. So let's take a look at Mike Connolly's presentation.
Hi, my name is Mike Connolly. I'm CEO of Helionics Corporation, and we have developed a novel synthetic blood vessel based on our platform biomaterial technology with a number of follow-on applications. The problem we're going to solve in the near term is unreliable access to the bloodstream for dialysis. 14% of the population has kidney disease, and unfortunately, you often don't know this until your kidneys are already near failure. When they do fail, you have to get dialysis at least 3 times a week to filter waste from your blood in order to survive. It's a stunningly expensive condition, costing the US $50 billion a year. And the biggest unsolved problem is maintaining access to the bloodstream because the easily accessible blood vessels are too small for dialysis. The 3 current methods of access all have big problems. Catheter is the one you really want to avoid. This is a tube that goes through your chest wall into your heart with a 1 in 3 chance of dying due to infection over the course of 1 year. And yet it is still widely used due to all the problems with the other 2 methods. Fistula is where they surgically join an artery to a vein in the arm, but you're stuck using that infection-prone catheter for 4 to 6 months while you're waiting for the blood vessels to enlarge enough in the arm that they can be used for dialysis. Worse yet, half the time they never do, and you have to start the clock over with another surgery. A vascular graft or synthetic blood vessel is a 3rd method of access. And the good news here is that conventional grafts can be used quickly, so you don't have to spend months on this infection-prone catheter. The downside is the grafts tend to occlude or plug up quickly, and infection can be a life-threatening problem. Our StarGraft synthetic blood vessel has demonstrated an 80% reduction of that internal blockage or occlusion that conventional grafts suffer. We've also demonstrated in multiple controlled animal studies a 1,000-fold reduction of bacterial colonization relative to conventional grafts. So the value we can offer is reduced cost, illness, and death for dialysis patients. As a replacement for the conventional synthetic blood vessel, they'll have less frequent or severe infections and need to undergo less frequent interventions to prevent occlusion. As an alternative to the fistula, they can avoid risking their life using that infection-prone catheter for extended periods while they wait for the fistula to mature, if it ever does. We completed a successful first human study of our StarGraft synthetic blood vessel. We now have a 2nd human trial in progress with an updated version, which we expect to have FDA approval for by early next year. Our product pipeline includes a couple of second indications for our StarGraft synthetic blood vessel for bypass of clogged arteries and repair of vascular trauma. We've also developed a needle-free dialysis port, which will eliminate the need for these huge dialysis needles that patients get stuck with several times a week, which cause a lot of pain, illness, and additional cost, and prevent the vast majority of them from doing dialysis at home. We've also demonstrated we can reduce the investment risk of catheters by coating them with our STAR material. And finally, STAR has a number of follow-on applications because all implantable medical devices face 2 challenges: infection and tissue scarring, which can impair their function. STAR is the only biomaterial which can uniquely resist both problems, and its effects are long-lasting because it leverages the body's natural immune system, and there are no side effects because we have no added drugs or biologics. Its anti-infection, anti-scarring benefits derive entirely from its patented microporous structure. Thank you for your attention.
Oops. There we go. Hey, so very exciting to have you here, Mike. Helionics is a super exciting company. So, as you said, you're going to be, you're looking to be approved next year, right? In 2022.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about post-approval. What does that look like in terms of validation studies and getting adoption?
Yeah, so we do plan to launch a larger post-clearance study in the US to generate additional data after we get clearance. We do think clinical data is going to be a key value driver for the company because the market clearly understands how severe the need is here and how big the opportunity is. And you can see that in the early stage acquisitions that have happened in our space.
And tell me a little bit about what you see in terms of, your upcoming financing.
So we just closed a Series A in April, and that'll take us through the end of next year. We are open to, we'll plan to do a larger Series B next year. And we're certainly open to looking at strategic partnering earlier than that. That could help us pursue the port at a little bit faster pace in parallel with the graft in particular, and also support this larger post-clearance study that we plan to do.
And in terms of investor profile, who's kind of the ideal for you? You're looking for strategics, institutional, who's the right fit for you?
So we've been funded primarily by angels and angel groups to this date with a couple of VCs involved. So I think going forward for the larger Series B round, that'll be probably a 10 million or so round. We'd hope to get some strategic investments as well as probably venture capital involvement at that point.
And tell us a little more about the team. So, a couple of highlights of the team and why you think you guys are the ones to bet on.
Yeah, so our management team has over 80 years experience in the medical device industry. I've been in it for 30 years myself as an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, and a CEO. Co-founded several companies, 3 of which have had strong exits. Our chief operating officer / president is a founder of the company, and he's been at senior companies like Siemens, Philips, and Ciba Geigy prior to this. Has a PhD in engineering, and our CTO invented the Star biomaterial, which is our platform material the technology is based upon. And he's been working on this for over 15 years since he discovered the material and patented it as part of his PhD work.
Excellent. So last thing here, let's just wrap it up with one concise value proposition statement. So what would you say is the compelling value proposition for Helionics?
To provide safe, reliable access to the bloodstream to perform dialysis in patients who have kidney failure. Dialysis has been around since the 60s, and remarkably, there has been almost no improvement in the options that are available. Very high risk of both failure of the access due to occlusion typically, or infection. And infections are often life-threatening in this area. So we think that we've got a shot at improving performance in both areas, and that would be a big deal in this field.
It'd be a huge deal. That's why we chose you for this cohort. What we were excited about was that opportunity, and we're really looking forward to seeing you accomplish that. Thanks for being here as part of our showcase.
All right, thanks, Paul.
All right, good to see you. Thanks, Mike. All right, so next up we have Viscardia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Bauer. I'm the CEO of Viscardia, a clinical stage medical device company in Portland, Oregon. At Viscardia, we're a team of executives and experts coming from the implantable medical device space. We have developed a truly novel and innovative therapy concept for the treatment of advanced chronic heart failure. Heart failure is a complex disease with severe impact on patients' quality of life, high mortality rates, and a staggering economic burden. In the United States alone, close to 6 million patients suffer from heart failure, and despite modern pharmacologic advances, 2.4 million hospitalized patients listed heart failure as their primary or secondary diagnosis. Our initial focus is to address a large gap in heart failure management, specifically in the treatment of patients with moderate heart failure, reduced ejection fraction, and preserved ventricular synchrony. In the US alone, there are over 300,000 potential patients for our therapy after exclusionary criteria, yielding a very attractive immediate US market opportunity of over $5 billion that is both complementary to and significantly larger than the established cardiac resonation market. Our novel therapy concept is called synchronized diaphragmatic stimulation, and it is designed to reduce the stress on the failing heart by recruiting the respiratory diaphragm as a cardiocirculatory assist and allow the weakened heart to deliver blood flow more easily. The therapy is deployed through our proprietary VIS-1 implant system, consisting of a subcutaneously placed pulse generator and active filtration electrodes, which are attached to the diaphragm through a laparoscopic procedure. When activated, the system recruits a group of muscle fibers from the diaphragm to modulate intrathoracic pressure in coordination with the mechanical cardiac cycle. This cardiac gated stimulation creates a localized twitch of the diaphragm that is imperceptible to the patient and does not change the respiratory cycle. If correctly timed, the resulting pressure modulation can reduce pericardial restraint and afterload during late diastole and early systole, and it can improve preload to enhance ventricular filling. The results of our VIS-1 first-in-human study demonstrated that patients recovered quickly from the minimal invasive surgery, and no therapy or procedure-related adverse events were reported throughout the duration of the study. Patients showed not only a significant increase in cardiac output after the therapy was activated, but most importantly, the study demonstrated significant chronic improvements in exercise tolerance, objective cardiac performance measurements, and quality of life scores. Based on our first-in-human results, our VIS-1 therapy was granted breakthrough device designation by the FDA, which enables an expedited path towards early commercialization and reimbursement coverage. Next for us is the preparation and then execution of an US IDE study under the Breakthrough Device Program, and we're actively raising $25 million in support of that. Appreciate your interest in learning more about Viscardia and how our technology will be able to impact the lives of patients and the associated investment opportunity.
Terrific presentation, Peter.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity to do that today.
Yeah, so really excited about the opportunity at Viscardia. You're doing something just truly novel. Tell us a little bit about when you go out there and you differentiate, and people say like, well, what about this other technique? Tell us about what is it that gets people particularly excited about Viscardia and what's supported clearly, your very successful fundraising to date.
Yeah, no, very good question, Paul. Most of the questions I do get is kind of, what is that mechanism again? Can you explain it, right? So it is at the end intuitive to use the diaphragm as a assist in a system where the heart is failing, right? So you talk about heart failure being weak, and you don't want to stress the heart further. So the clear differentiation is that we're using an intact muscle. We're using pure physiology in order to assist the heart to pump better. And so there are other technologies out there. We've been around for quite some time, and some have found some, limited utility in that space, but it's still a vast gap we are facing with heart failure patients. And that was corroborated, obviously, by the FDA providing us with that breakthrough device designation.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the breakthrough device designation. That's a big bonus and certainly helps in de-risking. So congratulations on that. Let's talk a little bit about that upcoming $25 million round. So what, again, are the milestones that this is really going to accomplish? And what's the ideal investor profile for you?
Yeah. So yeah, the 25 million will basically be used in order to finalize our IDE submission, so prepping for that, and then the execution. So we are looking for US-based IDE trial between 12 to 15 centers, up to 250 patients per our calculations. And it's probably going to cover a period of 2 to 3 years timeframe, right, depending on how the trial goes. So that's going to be the focus we're going to have, and under this breakthrough device umbrella. And we are fundraising at the moment. We do have interest from all kind of investors, institutional as well as strategics. But we are forming a syndicate right now. So if anyone is still interested to join, this would be a right time for it.
Terrific. Well, I'm sure you're going to have lots of interest. not only based on your success to date, but also just how hot, this particular space is and how novel it is. As you said, people, every time we're just kind of like, wait, explain that to me again. That's pretty incredible. So very excited about the future for you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. And good luck with the rest of the conference. All right. Next up, we have Neosis.
My name is Alon Moses. I'm CEO and co-founder of Neosis, where we develop robotic-assisted dental surgery systems. We focus on dental implant surgery, which is a very simple concept. You have an implant that goes where you're missing some teeth, and on top of that implant goes the crown or the prosthetic. It helps restore both appearance as well as function. The trick is to get the implant in exactly the right spot so as to avoid the nerve, the sinus, or otherwise healthy tooth structures. To do that well, they have to make a big incision, which leads to pain and potential infection. They have to take x-rays throughout the procedure. Optionally, they can get a plastic surgical guide, but that has costs and delays and can get in the way of the surgery. So we've developed a robotic surgery system called Yomi. It works with the surgeon interactively. So it guides the drill to get the right position, angle, and depth according to a preoperative CT scan and plan. It tracks the patient in real time, so it can adapt to any patient movement. And it shows on screen a CT updated in real time with the position of the drill and the patient, so it acts like a GPS system. It allows the surgeon to change their mind in the middle of the case because it's digital surgery and it's software driven, as compared to those plastic guides that are fixed, or freehand surgery, which doesn't give them any guidance at all. The market opportunity is tremendous, more than 20 million implants placed every year, in the fastest growing segment of the dental industry. Our business model focuses on a combination of recurring revenue, tracking every time they drill a hole, as well as capital sale, which they can finance over time, and it gives a very affordable option to the dentists. It's been working quite well as we expand commercially, more than 50 robots placed across the country. Most importantly, those robots are getting utilized at a very nice clip, more than 5,000 implants placed to date, with healthy growth quarter over quarter, despite the challenges of COVID. We're very well funded and very capitally efficient. First $7 million led to our clinical device, clinical study, and our 510K clearance. And since then, we've raised money from top tier VCs, including Mithro Capital, DFJ Growth, Norris Venture Partners, and others, in order to commercialize and expand our R&D efforts. Finally, we're led by a top tier team of executives from robotic surgery like Verb Surgical and J&J, and Mako Surgical, as well as from the dental industry like Align Technologies. I believe we're poised to disrupt the dental industry. We look forward to working with you to make that happen.
Hey, Alon, good to see you.
Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, what an amazing story, right? I mean, robotics, obviously, is a super hot space. You're doing it in dentistry, right? And that's a space that is typically not seen as all that innovative. They're slow to adopt new innovations, and you're bringing a robot into these practices, and you've been very successful at doing it already. So tell us, just kind of briefly, what are some of the big selling points when you're talking to with a practice about adopting your technology?
Yeah, so practices that do implants are focused on getting a minimally invasive approach if they can, getting really accurate results. We want to give dentists the ability to confidently place implants so they know they're going to get exactly what they planned every time. And the other interesting part about the dental industry, which is a little different, it's all mainly private practice. So they're not just clinicians, but they're also business owners. So robotic surgery is a real interesting opportunity for them to not only give better clinical care, but to grow their business as a private practice.
And certainly you're also, moving beyond the people who typically potentially would do this procedure now and expanding it, right, to really, to any practice. Is that something that they're excited about? You're seeing that there's a lot of interest in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the dental world, there's basically, what we think about as two different channels. You've got your general dentists and your oral surgeons. And the oral surgeons are specialists, highly trained. They do maybe 1,000 implants in a year. And so this gives them the ability to do the complex cases very safely and consistently, and make sure that every implant is exactly what they want. But the other end of that is the general dentist, the ones that you go to on a regular basis to get your checkups. They can also do implants and often do, and it's a very high revenue procedure. So they would love to do more of those cases instead of referring them out. And this really is a democratizing technology where it can enable those general dentists to do more implants. And when we look at the utilization among our customers, oral surgeons love the system, but these what we call super GPs, the general dentists who do lots and lots of implants, are using the system for every case and growing their practice as a result of using the system. So it's exciting for both segments.
So, I know you've been really successful at raising capital. You guys have done very well on that front. Tell us a little bit about kind of the future in terms of fundraising for you, and who the ideal investors are for your company.
Absolutely. So we've had great investors to date. DFJ Growth led our last round. They're the folks behind Tesla and SpaceX. Mithril Capital was our very first venture capital investor. We also have Norwest Venture Partners, Vivo Healthcare on board. All of them really believe in the opportunity to disrupt an industry and swing for the fences. So, we have an opportunity here to not just have a device that's useful for a procedure, but really it's as a platform technology. So I think that puts us in a position where growth investors at this stage are interesting, but also strategic investors. We help enable the sale of cone beam CT scanners, intraoral scanners, other parts of the dental implant workflow where we're, open platform and cross-compatible with all those other technologies. So I think having strategic alignment as an investment strategy and commercializing strategies could be really interesting for us at this stage.
That's great. We've seen growing interest on the medtech side in the dental space, which is really, the first time we've seen that in a long time. I mean, certainly there's been, as I said, there's been innovations, but they're typically slow to adopt. We've always had one or so companies each year in our program in the dental space. And yours, rose to the top. There was no question at all. Everyone was very excited about the opportunity. Maybe in closing here, you could kind of give us again, from I guess from a value proposition for a practice, and from a payment perspective, again, how they're, what the attractive model is to them. You're selling to somebody and say like, this is what the value and the cost is going to be for practice. So just give us kind of like that short version of that.
Sure. So for a practice that adopts this technology, we have, like we talked about in our business model, we have a capital cost, and we can finance that over 5 years. And then there's the recurring fee is about $150. So from a practice perspective, they're charging their patients about $3,000 on average per implant. So every new patient that walks in the door typically is around 2 implants average per patient. So that's, roughly the $5,000 to $8,000 range that they're getting in revenue for every new patient. Mm-hmm. So if they're doing a couple hundred patients a year, they have an opportunity, if they can improve that growth by 1 or 2 patients a month, which, with the marketing of robotic technology, the ability to keep those cases in-house can really give them that opportunity. It more than makes up for the cost, and they get a very quick ROI on it.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I remember in our diligence process, we reached out to both general dentists as well as, implanters, and kind of across the board, there was a lot of interest and a lot of excitement about what you're doing. So congratulations on the success so far, and very excited about the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Hey, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. See you soon, Alon. Okay. So that was Neosis, super exciting technology. Let's go on now to Nuvo.
Hi, I'm Deborah Bass. I'm the U.S. President and Chief Marketing Officer of Nuvo. I'm excited to share with you how we give life a better beginning. Let's start with the problem statement. We see it through 3 lenses. The first, where the U.S. has the dubious honor of being the most deadly developed nation to give birth. Why is that? We see rising mother mortality, unsustainable costs driven by high-risk pregnancies, and just when we need more care, a shortage of OBs on the horizon, where 50% of U.S. counties have no practicing OB. Outdated tech and care practices. We see a fragmented journey, poor data from legacy tools, and a disconnected episode of care where we really need whole mother care, quarterbacked by the OB and one cohesive data view. And the last lens on the problem is burden of experience, where today pregnancy monitoring remains a brick and mortar episode in a world that's gone omnichannel. And COVID's really been an accelerant for telehealth adoption and the need for pregnancy telehealth. And to enable that, we need more robust tools like we've created with our InView platform. The InView platform has three core components: the sensor band, the cloud computing environment, and a visualization layer. Essentially, we've made the mother the point of care, and through our sensor band, we capture data from the womb, which travels to a secure cloud computing environment for digital signal processing, big data, AI tools. And then we have a visualization layer of connected care that becomes the backbone of a virtual visit between a mother and her OB team. We're currently getting our traction in the market behind our first and our recent second FDA clearance. We're starting with the implementation phase with key partners such as Axia Women's Health that are enabling us to start to shift care delivery of routine monitoring procedures to the home. The second track of our deployment plan is validating new care pathways with academic medical centers such as Penn and the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences. And the third pathway in our adoption plan is pioneering new science with research partners such as CanLab out of the University of Utah, which is helping us understand new modes of screening for and providing new therapy options for maternal mood disorders. We're really excited about our journey and our meaningful movement. Please learn more at nuvocares.com or follow us on any of our social channels.
Hey, Deborah, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you, Paul.
It's great to see you too. Boy, by the way, I love your domain name, Nuvo Cares. I've always really liked that.
It's all about empathy.
I agree, it is, and that just says it even right in your domain name. So good job on that. So this is a space that's super interesting. You said something during the presentation that I was interested in, which is how COVID has been an accelerant. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when you look at pregnancy care, shockingly, it's largely 100% brick and mortar in an age where you have millennial moms growing up digitally native, right? And there's been a lot of inertia among OBs in adopting new technology. Why is that? Because they worry about medical malpractice, right? So they've been holdouts largely in the movement to digital. But what happened with COVID is suddenly you see OB clinics closed or having restricted access. This is the height of COVID, yet pregnant women can't go unchecked, right? This is not like my knee replacement surgery where I could defer it for 6 months. So COVID was really a forcing mechanism for clinics to stand up telehealth infrastructure and really debunk the inertia for providers. And now what we're seeing with patients is there's no turning back, right? We've uncorked the genie and they want more telehealth options to live their life digitally like they do broadly.
Yeah, no question about it that the genie is out of the bottle. So in terms of parameters, can you describe what parameters your product measures and how that translates to clinical outcomes?
Sure. So just for perspective, when you look at fetal monitoring technology, which is 50 years old, it's largely Doppler and Toco that capture the signals from the womb. What Nuvo has is unique sensing technology that captures the physiologic measures, what's known as standard of care, fetal heart rate, maternal heart rate, uterine activity. Those get harnessed into a couple of mainstream procedures: fetal viability checks, which is part of the wellness pathway, and non-stress tests, deeper fetal surveillance, particularly for high-risk pregnancies. And these are really clinically actionable interpretations to understand, is there fetal distress? And if so, do I need to take an action? If everything's okay, then you continue on that wellness pathway. Nuvo actually goes deeper, though, than standard of care beyond those signals to also understand breathing and movement, position of the baby. These deeper data signals are part of our proprietary data understanding, allowing us to create new data layers and clinically actionable insights to pioneer new science into things like mood disorders, preeclampsia treatment, fetal arrhythmia detection, et cetera.
And so in terms of engaging the patients, activating the patients, tell us a little bit about how you're doing that.
So right now it's largely through the providers because we're just getting our foothold in the US market with Axia Women's Health and University of Hawaii Health Partners, et cetera. So patients are learning about InView through the doctors. Deborah, you're an excellent candidate for virtual care. We want to incorporate this into your scheduling. And then we provide the tools to train up the patient and help her to have successful monitoring and an experience at home through a connected care episode, right? Pretend you're my doctor. I just completed my monitoring. Deborah, let me share with you what we're seeing and what this means for your plan moving forward.
Great. So Deborah, now tell us a little bit about, on the investing side, again, what's coming up in terms of fundraising and who's the ideal investor for the company?
Sure. So we've raised over $50 million to date, and that's gone into the development, clinical validation, regulatory clearance, and really building a patent moat around the technology. We have 46 patents. We're doing a $30 million raise right now in the growth stage of our company. Use of proceeds would be to continue to build out the US management team and capabilities, to scale up production, and also to continue to develop our big data AI platform. The ideal investors at this point are strategic investors like providers and payers that will help us with adoption, or other strategics that could help out round out the maternity care solution. And last, I'd say healthcare VCs or institutional investors that want to place a bet in women's health, an underserved area, and really get behind a meaningful technology with regulatory clearance and competitive right to win.
Well, I know we've had a lot of interest on our end when we hear from the people who've been involved in reviewing your company and doing the diligence that got us to the point of accepting you into the program. A huge amount of interest in women's health, and in particular, obviously, the digital health component of all this, and the fact that you're able to engage in that way with the patient, being driven by the physician, but engaging the patients and all the other opportunities that platform offers, super exciting opportunity. So Deborah, thank you very much for being with us today, and looking forward to continuing to innovate together in women's health.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, another great company, very exciting. And again, we're always excited about finding more opportunities in the women's health space. And this was one of the ones that we were very excited about this year. Next up, we have Arya CV. So let's go ahead and hear the pitch.
Good morning. I'm Dan Gladney, the CEO of Arya CV. Pulmonary arterial hypertension is a deadly disease that primarily attacks women in the prime of their life, greatly reducing their quality of life and survival. The only approved therapy today are vasodilator drugs that are some of the most costly drugs in our country each year. And even with this therapy, the disease leads to right heart failure and remains a deadly progressive disease. Arya's breakthrough solution is we offer the first implantable medical device technology for treating pulmonary arterial hypertension. It's an elegant design. There's no batteries or electronics, and it's disruptive in that over and above drugs, our device improves cardiac output and exercise capacity, at the same time reducing workload on the right heart. Our value proposition is a one-time implant to improve survival and quality of life at a lower cost. This animation shows a cross-section of a healthy pulmonary artery, pliable and moving blood downstream. But as the disease sets in, the walls of the pulmonary artery thicken and stiffen, making it difficult for the heart to move blood down to the lungs. We implant our anchor in the left pulmonary artery and attach to it our catheter and balloon. The balloon opens and closes to help move blood downstream in between heartbeats. mimicking a healthy pulmonary artery. The market opportunity, we believe, is $2.5 billion at just baseline of 50,000 implants a year. And if the device is extremely successful, the optimistic point of view shows that you have about a $5 billion new market opportunity. The clinical regulatory pathway here is using our breakthrough device designation from the FDA to kick off our early feasibility study here in the United States within the next 30 days. Chronic permanent implants on a minimum of 15 patients. This will be followed up by an acute study to evaluate the device in left heart failure and lung disease. Then in late 2022, we'll kick off our pivotal trial under the Breakthrough Device Program. Our financing timelines are: first, we completed our Series B in January of 2020 for $31 million. We expect to close our Series C in Q1 of 2022 for $45 million, with the major milestone being PMA market clearance. Arya's device is the first that directly targets right heart failure. It reduces workload on the heart and it restores blood flow. It's a very elegant and passive design, and it's an opportunity to create a new $2.5 billion device market. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. Good to have you here with us, Dan.
Thanks, Paul.
So, you've got an amazing team and a fantastic track record. Can you give us a little more detail on the team and why you guys the people to bet on?
Sure. Well, we have two co-founders, Dr. John Scandura from the University of Minnesota and Dr. Carl Volmers. Carl's a PhD mechanical engineer. John is both an engineer and a DVM. We also have Dan Manns. Dan's is our Senior Vice President of Clinical, and he brings with him 25 years of clinical experience in running clinical programs, primarily in the field of cardiac. And then we have a number of other, very high-end, what I would call mechanical engineers that work for us here. So we've got a very, very solid team working for Arya.
And tell me a little more about the financing, what you guys have coming up in terms of your financing, and importantly, who the ideal investors are for you.
Sure. So in terms of our financing, we completed our Series B financing for $31 million in January of 2020. Joining that round were 4 VCs, along with 3 strategics in the structural heart space, Medtronic, Edwards, and Abiomed. So very strong group of investors that are helping us along the way with recommendations. So they've been quite good as partners. Our Series C is scheduled to be done in Q1 of 2022. And the Series C will be for $45 million. And that round, it funds all the way through an approval for our PMA, for our pivotal trial.
Okay. And also tell us, again, sum up the value proposition. What is it that really gets people excited when you tell them the story?
Yeah, sure. Well, right now in pulmonary arterial hypertension, the only approved therapy are drugs, and the drugs act as vasodilators, but they're really not a cure for the disease. The patient continues to progressively get worse, and eventually, from the time of diagnosis, these patients are pretty much passed within about 3 to 7 years. So this device is the first device which takes the load off the right heart, because most of these patients die from heart failure. So this takes the load off the right heart. It improves cardiac output and allows patients to exercise, and it lowers pressures in the pulmonary arteries. So this is a kind of a first of its type implant for doing that for PAH patients. And in fact, we're also going to be conducting next month over in the University of Vienna in Vienna, Austria, an acute study on left heart failure patients and lung disease patients as well. So huge markets that those represent. And this will be, again, the first device that really manages reducing the workload of the right heart.
Fantastic. I know we had huge interest in what you're doing when we put together, this cohort. MedTech Innovator, as I've said many times throughout the showcase, we only take the companies that our strategic partners have expressed interest in. Can you just tell us briefly, kind of in terms of the landscape out there, in terms of the types of partners that you're looking for? Give us a little more profile on who you'd like to be partnering with.
Sure. Well, ideally, we'd like to bring in a couple of more venture groups. We're looking for kind of a minimal investment of $5 million, with maybe a maximum investment from one or two of 20 million up to 20 million. Our existing group of investors, we think, will cover at least half of the round, if not a little more. So we're looking to fill the rest of the round. And again, I think it would be 5 million, up to a maximum of about 20 million.
Fantastic. Well, we're thrilled to have you in the program. We really appreciate, you being here in the showcase, doing a terrific job, and really excited to continue working together.
Well, thank you, Paul, and thank you very much to the group.
All right. Thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you very soon, Dan.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye. All right. So next, we have PhotoPharmics.
Hi, I'm Dan Adams with PhotoPharmics, and we have developed one of the most important breakthroughs in neurodegeneration. It's called specialized phototherapy. Now, this saw a 5-year reversal of symptomatic progression in Parkinson's disease. It addresses a core underlying mechanism in neurodegeneration, and it's a platform technology for diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and Huntington's. It's the only treatment that addresses the major non-motor problems of these diseases, and they include cognition, psychological health, fatigue, sleep, and daytime sleepiness. These problems are often the most debilitating, they're the most costly, and urgent unmet needs. Now, our first application is in Parkinson's, and it will be on the market within 2 years, and it's already recognized by the FDA as a breakthrough therapy. And now this means that immediate Medicare coverage will be applied once it's approved. Now, we all know Parkinson's from the motor problems like tremor, and most of us know that there's a motor center in the brain that is slowly deteriorating. And it turns out recent discoveries have shown that there's also a major non-motor center that's being affected. And this system is switched on and off by a special photoreceptor in the eye, and that photoreceptor is called melanopsin. Now, the problem in diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's is that the same deterioration that's happening in the brain is also affecting these melanopsin cells. And so these cells have been switched off. And so the whole non-motor system is shut down. Now, this is what a normal sleep-wake energy cycle should look like, with strong energy and activity during the daytime and then restorative sleep at night. But this activity cycle is severely blunted in Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and the result is a host of problems, including sleep, fatigue, energy, cognition, irritability, anxiety, and depression. And so, simply stated, our company's expertise is knowing how to turn the melanopsin signaling system back on. And by using specialized phototherapy, we can reactivate melanopsin and restore activity in sleep. Now, we've demonstrated this technology in a 6-month, 92-patient double-blind trial, and we showed significant improvements in non-motor symptoms, in sleep, and quality of life, and all this on top of best medical care. That is something that no other trial has shown. Here's a picture of an individual using the device. It's a passive therapy, meaning the patients do not need to look into the device. They just set it in front of them in order for it to work. Now, we've previously built the largest phototherapy company in the United States, and we developed exclusive technology for treating sleep and depressive disorders. We sold that company to Philips, and we've developed the same model for neurodegenerative disorders. We also have the leading neurology and commercialization team. These people have been responsible for the successful introduction of several new treatments in movement disorders over the past 20 years. And our device, Celeste, offers very attractive gross margins. We expect revenue in our first year of $50 million with $500 million by year 5. And so we invite you to join with us in dramatically improving the lives of millions of people suffering with neurodegenerative disorders. Thank you.
Hey, Kent, welcome.
Hi, Paul. Good to see you.
Great seeing you too. Boy, I got to say, this is one of those things that, the first time you read about it, people, I mean, I know I had this reaction, other people did too, where you look at it, you go like, oh, how can that work? Light, I mean, how can you just look at this and it just works? How do you get people past that? Obviously clinical data and all these things eventually, convince people. So tell me a little bit about, what it is, what's the moment where people look at this and they go, wow, okay, I get it. This is going to work.
Yeah, it's a great question. I've actually been in the space for over 30 years, believe it or not. And so the journey started with, neuropsychiatric disorders, seasonal affective disorder, sleep and mood disorders. And it really was a long runway, a missionary cell to get people to believe that light could have an effect. And it's really it's acting just like a drug, right? And the effect is through the retina. But there's enough science now that people understand clearly. They learn in medical school that light has this kind of an impact. And so really we're building on that foundation that we built previously and now addressing neurodegeneration. It's an easy transition actually for neurologists to see now. Yeah, I understand that light can affect sleep. So I can see that with the sleep disorder component in Parkinson's, for example, that light could make a difference and improve the lives of people with Parkinson's. But the data is really going to tell the story, and it's starting to tell it already. And then with the 300 patient trial that's coming up, that should convince the community.
I'm sure it will. Now, what about older patients who may be suffering from AMD? If they've got damaged photoreceptors, is this technology still going to work for them?
Yeah, I don't know specifically about AMD, but there are a number of neurodegenerative diseases that have neurodegeneration in the retina. In fact, with OCT or optical coherence tomography, you can actually see that neurodegeneration. And we believe that this will have effect across the board in each of those diseases. We've seen dramatic improvement in Parkinson's. We've begun to see some improvement in Alzheimer's disease. So it'll be a fun journey to take across all those disease states. Hope to make a big difference for a lot of people.
No, I'm sure you're going to make a huge impact. Talk a little bit about the investment side for you. So, in terms of fundraising, what's the status, and what do you look for in investors that you think are an ideal match for PhotoPharmics?
Yeah, we're conducting our Series B round right now to fund that phase 3 clinical trial. And we have a lot of interest. We probably have 10 groups in our data room right now that could lead the round. So we have strategics in the data room and also large life science VCs. So we're looking for people of that kind of ilk, right? VCs with experience in the space that can help us on the next journey through FDA approval and commercialization.
Terrific. So, I've been excited about this one since I read about it. This is a space with just huge unmet need. And PhotoPharmics is one of the companies that's doing something different and something that really leapt out because of the data you have and because of, just again, this huge unmet need. So we're really excited about it. Thrilled you're part of the program this year and very excited to have you here in the showcase.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for being here. All right. So that is our first section of companies. We're now going to move on to the second block. We've got Catherine Zavala, my COO at MedTech Innovator, who's going to join me here. Hey, Catherine, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, hello, everyone. Oops. My name is Brian Shields, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Neuromark.
Going back to Neuromark.
Going back to Neuromark. No, I'm going to stick with you. I got one slide in too far. So Catherine, great seeing you. Thank you for being here for the second block. Again, Catherine Zavala, our COO at MedTech Innovator, has been here with me since the very beginning of MedTech Innovator, and I'm just so happy to have you take over for me now.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. And thanks, Paul, for taking on the first group here, especially on your vacation. So enjoy
Absolutely.
the rest of your vacation, seeing the
Thank
family. And
Thank you. I will. All right.
And I'll keep the success going here.
All right. Sounds good. I'll continue to watch. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So we'll jump right into our next presentation. And this is Echo.
Hi, my name is Naveen Srivatsa, and I lead partnerships at Echo. Echo revolutionizes the stethoscope through novel sensors, artificial intelligence, and telehealth software in order to improve the care provided to patients with cardiac and pulmonary conditions. Cardiac and pulmonary conditions are the leading cause of mortality in the world, impacting life, quality of life, and cost of care. But what's particularly tragic about these conditions is that this burden exists despite the presence of phenomenal therapeutics or treatments. Weaknesses elsewhere in the care pathway, particularly around early detection and prolonged management, also play their role in causing this burden. We address this by focusing on one of the most common devices used by a physician, a stethoscope. Today, you probably use better technology to listen to a song than physicians do to listen to the heart or lungs. No wonder that conditions go missed, that cardiac signals like murmurs go unnoticed, that respiratory signals like exacerbations go undetected. We have sought to change that. Our platform consists of 3 parts. First, we integrated modern sensors into the stethoscope, instilling features like amplification, noise cancellation, ECG leads, and digitization via Bluetooth. Second, we build, train, and develop algorithms that can aid in the detection of heart murmurs, atrial fibrillation, and more. Algorithms that are compatible with the stethoscopes we build. And third, we build telehealth software that stitches it all together and can transmit heart sounds, lung sounds, and ECGs from point A to point B, whether it be from an urgent care clinic to a specialist office or from a patient's home to a physician. Our first device was FDA cleared in 2015, and our first algorithm was FDA cleared in 2020. Our business model is to sell devices and stethoscopes, which have been purchased by tens of thousands of physicians, and build a passionate user base, enabling us to scale our impact through department-wide or institution-wide contracts. Looking ahead, we will be growing by developing new and novel algorithms, launching new devices, expanding the number of markets we operate in, and building new software. Our momentum is propelled by our academic partners, including Northwestern, UCSF, and the Mayo Clinic, our technology partners, including 3M and several telemedicine companies, and our clinician partners, who number in the tens of thousands. Many of his employers have signed on to the Echo platform. I'm joined by our co-founder and chief customer officer, Jason Bellett, who will be able to answer any questions about what we built and where we intend to take it. But in the meantime, please reach out to either one of us. Our emails are here on the slide if you'd like to learn more or partner. Thank you.
Right. So I'm joined here by Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I've been following Echo for a number of years. It's one of my favorite innovations that I've seen, and I'm really excited to have you guys in our showcase this year. Let me first ask you, it is a crowded space. There are a number of other smart stethoscopes and technologies that are very similar. So what's kind of your guys' point of differentiation?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we really are focused on the front lines of screening. And so looking at the primary care and wellness exam as an opportunity to identify early signs of cardiopulmonary disease. So you have 30 million clinicians today that have a stethoscope around their neck, and 99.5% of them are a rubber tube with a metal chest piece. And we feel very strongly that being able to digitize what has historically been a very analog process of listening to heart sounds, providing real-time insights on, as Naveen said, we can analyze a song with Shazam. We can analyze a heart sound for an abnormality and tell the provider if they're listening to something abnormal. Can have really tremendous downstream impacts on the early detection of disease. And so while we've had amazing advancements in cardiology with handheld ultrasound and certainly on the therapeutics and device side, we really haven't seen that innovation make its way all the way into the primary care exam room. So our mission is to put it around the neck of every primary care provider, and 3M has historically been the market leader in stethoscopes, and we're just so honored to be partnered with them to jointly develop the next generation of digital stethoscope technology.
That's amazing. And I guess when we talk about kind of your short and long-term goals, and where are you with fundraising? What's your next round? What kind of investors or partners are you looking for as well?
We've raised $100 million to date, a combination of venture funding as well as some strategic partnerships. So working with 3M, the Mayo Clinic, Edwards Life Sciences, really trying to create a community all focused on this improved frontline screening of cardiovascular disease. And our go-to-market has been split between getting the current devices, our next generation digital stethoscopes and software on the market, but also a pretty robust pipeline of algorithms and screening tools that we are in the process of building with our academic partners.
Great. Well, thank you, Jason, for coming on and sharing a little bit more about the Echo story. We're looking forward to continuing to work with you. And for our audience, you can connect with Jason through the conference platform. I know they also share their emails there. And lastly, if you want to reach out to us, we can always make an introduction there. So thanks, Jason.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so we'll move on to our next presentation. And this is Inovise.
Hi, I'm Tim Wheeler from Embody Medical, and this is a quick introduction to our AutoCore heart failure management system, a simple diagnostic device paired with a patient's cell phone that can provide physicians with trended measurements of cardiac function. It goes beyond just ECG to actually measure the mechanical function of the heart. Heart failure is a chronic condition with frequent exacerbations and is the most frequent cause of hospitalizations in the United States. These hospital visits and the symptoms that lead up to them reduce quality of life for the patients. They also cause a significant economic burden to the point where CMS has imposed penalties on hospitals to attempt to curb hospitalization rates for heart failure patients. Unfortunately, doctors don't have effective tools to manage heart failure patients post-discharge to keep them out of the hospital. Currently, there are 6.9 million patients living with heart failure in the U.S. at an estimated cost of $43 billion per year. The AutoCore remote monitoring system can help solve the heart failure problem. Technology has been rigorously investigated and has been proven to reduce rehospitalizations. Using AutoCore measurements to guide medical therapy resulted in a drop in hospitalizations of up to 50%. The system, which consists of a handheld device connected to a mobile phone, has been granted FDA breakthrough designation. It also offers the advantage of being non-invasive, where other proven technologies rely on implanted devices. The technology uses simultaneous heart sound and ECG signals to assess the mechanical function of the heart. The third heart sound, the S3, is a classic auscultation indicator of elevated filling pressures. Our automated measurement of the S3 provides an objective value for the strength of the sound. Another important measurement in heart failure assessment is the electromechanical activation time, or the EMAT. It's a measurement invented by Inovise that correlates to the efficiency of the heart. EMAT's the duration from the start of the electrical activation of the primary heart muscle till that muscle can build up enough pressure to close the inlet valve. The sicker the heart, the longer the EMAT time. Inovise has over 80 publications from studies all over the world. These are just a few highlighting our work in heart failure. We started by testing the technology as a diagnostic in the emergency room. And while we did add value, diagnosis isn't the main issue in heart failure. So our next studies showed that AutoCore measurements could be used to successfully predict risk of rehospitalization when we tested patients either at hospital discharge or 2 weeks after. Using that information, our researchers designed a randomized control trial. By using AutoCore measurements to guide treatment, they were able to significantly reduce rehospitalization rates. This was a study of 200 patients at a single hospital in Taiwan. Our intention is to improve on these results with our home monitoring system and to prove it through a large-scale multi-site study in the US. With the remote monitoring system, the patient uses a handheld device connected to a mobile phone to take a daily test. It takes about 2 minutes. Signals are transferred to the cloud for analysis, where daily results are trended. Alerts generated from the trend are first passed through a call center for review. The call center will review compliance with the current treatment plan before passing alerts on to the doctors to adjust the treatment or schedule an office visit. Acute symptomatic episodes of heart failure take days or even weeks to build, which means we don't need to bother the doctors with every little irregularity. We're currently seeking funding for our large US-based clinical trial. We anticipate completion and FDA approval in 2024. Thanks for listening.
Great. Hi, Tim. Thanks for sharing the Inovise medical story.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks.
So, one of the great things we saw is how your product works and the space that you're addressing. There are a lot of other kind of wearable technologies that are kind of in that space. Can you talk a little bit more about the decision to go with the form factor that you have, and then how this competes with wearable technology?
Sure, yeah. We have explored all kinds of other technologies. We've had wearable devices in the past that can record continuously. One of the major concerns is really around patient compliance. And so we're trying to make the model as easy as possible, but we're also trying to follow the trail that's already being blazed by CardioMEMS. Their model is really just one snapshot a day. So our initial entry with the product into the home monitoring is just going to be that simple model, something that the patient can easily just do in a couple of minutes every morning. And that will give us enough information to generate a trend that's then actionable for the physicians.
Great, thanks. And then Tim, another follow-up question, kind of about where your company is now, and can you talk about like the funding and what you're looking for in future partners or future investors?
Yeah, sure. So we've largely been operating in a partnership model where we've been embedding our technology into other partners' products. And so with this product, we're really shifting back. We have had products we've commercialized in the past. We're shifting back to that model just for speed, really. A lot of our partners are bigger companies. They're very slow to introduce products. And with the sudden acceptance of remote monitoring and heart failure just kind of being a hot space, we really think we can move more quickly on our own. So we're looking to raise funds. We have a small randomized control trial. We want to repeat that in the US, multi-center. And so we're looking to raise funds to commercialize this product on our own and really targeting this market.
No, and to your point, remote monitoring is huge now. And of course, the space that you're addressing is equally as big, if not bigger. So Tim, also, I guess a closing question, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your other team members.
Sure, yeah, well, we've been working together for a long time. Inovise was founded by a group out of HP Medical back in 1997, and we started working on the heart sounds around 2003, which is also when I joined. We still have that core group of engineers from HP Medical, a lot of history in ECG, defibrillator algorithms, and then also a few people from the implantable side as well. And so a lot of great engineering resources in the company, and a lot of history with all these kind of technologies.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tim, for joining me and for sharing the Inovise story. We're looking forward to continuing to work with you over the next few months.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so our next presentation is Applaud Biomedical.
The economic burden of heart failure is enormous and rising. The American Hospital Association forecasts U.S. hospitalization costs of $35 billion by 2030. Today, 90% of hospital admissions for heart failure are due to fluid overload. Two key metrics with potential to transform how clinicians determine therapy for heart failure patients are intravascular volume status and kidney function. No clinically viable methods to simultaneously determine these metrics exist today. Additionally, measurements of weight, blood pressure, urine output, and cardiac output correlate poorly with actual volume status. The standard of care directs physicians to make treatment decisions using subjective evaluation of edema and venous distension or listening for chest congestion. Physical assessments are imprecise and vary greatly from clinician to clinician. The frontline treatment for volume overload is fluid removal using diuretic therapies. Too little diuretic and not enough fluid is removed, resulting in delayed decongestion and poor clinical outcomes. Too much diuretic results in the patient's volume being depleted, potentially causing reduced cardiac output, hypotensive collapse, and acute kidney injury. The challenge? To correctly dose diuretics to decrease volume overload and avoid kidney injury when you cannot accurately measure a patient's intravascular volume status. The answer? Repeated accurate measurement of intravascular volume status and kidney function to determine and guide treatment, allowing a precision medicine approach to diuretic therapy. Fast Biomedical is developing a first-in-class technology that combines injectable fluorescent markers and a measurement device. The process begins by injecting the patient with a solution that includes 2 non-radioactive fluorescent markers of different molecular weights. The technology fits easily into routine clinical workflow and does not require use of radioactive materials, urine collection, or placement of costly and cumbersome sensors. After 15 minutes, blood is drawn and placed in the Fast Biomedical device, giving the clinician an accurate assessment of the patient's intravascular volume. Clinicians can continue to measure volume any number of times during treatment, up to 6 hours after the first injection. Clinicians can also obtain a measured kidney function during this period. Fast Biomedical. Precision measurements for precision care.
All right, and so joining me now is Joe. Hi, Joe. Great to see you again.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Great. So this was one of my favorite presentations we saw during our road tour. One thing we didn't get to talk about in this presentation was the team. So as a starting point, Joe, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and the team at FAST?
Sure. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I spent the first half of my career in broadband and wireless and the second half of my career in MedTech. And most of the rest of my team, they're either serial entrepreneurs or key opinion leader clinicians.
Right. And so, fluid management is obviously one of the hot themes I think we've seen in this year. And you're introducing kind of a new way of managing that, or I guess managing is the way to go. Can you talk about how this would fit into kind of the workflow and your expectations as far as physician adoption?
Sure. So, that's the key. You have to fit into the workflow and you have to be adopted. And history is littered with technologies that gave physicians a metric that they didn't use. So where we really started was with primary market research, understanding how do they like today's tools, where are their frustrations, and what do they want? And then we've tested it now in 5 clinical trials in really hectic critical care environments. And we've had no deviations from the protocol. So we think it fits pretty easily into the workflow, and KOLs are pretty enthused about adopting it.
5 clinical trials, that's certainly great evidence. One thing I also wanted to touch on was regulatory pathway and strategy. So what are your plans there?
We have 1 trial remaining to do that will get us clearance both in the US and European Union. So we're pretty far down the road and want to knock out that remaining trial.
And then I guess the closing question is about investment. Obviously, we've got some investors in the audience. So where are you with funding and what are you looking for?
We've raised $25 million through a Series A and have augmented that with $8 million of non-dilutive funding. NIH has been a big supporter of ours. We'll head out into the market with a Series B where we'll raise up to $32 million. If we hit the $32 million, we think that will be all we'll need to get to cash flow positive in 36 months.
Awesome. Well, sounds very promising. Joe, very great to see you again, and love that we get to work with you over the next few months.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, so our next presentation is PathologyWatch.
Hi, my name is Dan Lambert, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of PathologyWatch, and we do deep learning for pathology diagnostics. And right now we focus on dermatopathology, or the study of skin cancers, but we will eventually be getting into GI and prostate and other cancer lines. So how it works at a basic level, you see a spot on your skin, you go into the dermatologist, and they take the biopsy. They FedEx or courier that biopsy to our central lab where we gross the sample and prepare the slide. We then use digital scanners to digitize the image and load those images into the cloud. We then use AI to identify the cancer, generate the doctor's note. The physician does a final review, and then the annotation is passed into the dermatologist's electronic medical record system. So this is an end-to-end solution for the pathology that occurs inside of the dermatologist's office. We generate revenue by billing insurance for the technical component and the professional component of the work that we complete. And our AI is intended to make the physician faster and more accurate. There are several reasons why the dermatologist signs up with us. If they review the digital pathology, they may be able to bill more per case. We integrate with their EMR system. And there's now clinical correlation between the dermatologist and the pathologist, so this is a significant step forward. We train the AI using approximately 25 to 30,000 tumor nest extractions per cancer line. This generally gets the AI into an approximately 98 to 99% accuracy range with continued improvements, and we're continuing to conduct studies on this. The team has a very strong background in this area. Specifically, I worked in AI and machine learning. My partner, Dr. Greg Osmond, is a highly skilled dermatopathologist, and Michael Torno has a strong background in building lab companies and built ViraCore and sold it to Eurofins. This business in particular is a significant improvement in gross margin because we're introducing the AI on a large market, $17 billion TAM. In many cases, 3% more accurate in the developed world, 22% more accurate in emerging markets, and we're able to get these diagnostics done in about half of the turnaround time as seen previously. We're currently in the middle of a $25 million Series B round with approximately $20 million committed. The company is doing approximately $3.5 million in annual repeating revenue. We're currently used by approximately 55 dermatology clinics across the country, with 30 more soon to be onboarded after the round. Thank you for the time.
And so I'm joined now by Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Catherine.
That was a really incredible overview of where you guys are with pathology. No doubt that you guys have incredible traction and have accomplished quite a bit. So going back to where you've trained the AI and the applications that this is being used, obviously cancer is a big market. So is it for all cancer biopsies, or are there particular ones?
Right now, we're focused just on dermatopathology, so it's all of the skin-related conditions, but we plan to develop AI over the next 18 months for GI, prostate, and breast cancers.
Right, and so I know that you guys have some sales out there. You've got some penetration into the market, but can you talk a little bit more about your goals there for expansion? What kind of partners you're looking for as you move forward?
Yeah, I mean, our business model works really well on the sales front because we found that the ex-pharma reps like Galderma or people coming out of med device companies that already have their existing Rolodex of dermatologists, they make an excellent sales force, and that's very repeatable. We can just simply open up new territories using the existing model that we have, and then we'll go back and do use that same model for GI. Just simply add reps, use our existing footprint and insurance contracts, kind of rinse and repeat as we move through the rest of the market.
Excellent. And I guess, since you already are are already out there, and what kind of user feedback have you gotten, and what's your kind of repeat customer success look like?
Yeah, so actually so far we have 100% customer retention. Everybody has loved the solution so far. I think we probably get more positive feedback on the fact that we actually integrate with their EMR system than anything, even more so than the AI. I think the pathologists really appreciate the AI. Right now we run the AI mostly retrospectively to look at cases in the past, but that's actually identified several cancers that physicians had missed. And for me, that's really exciting. That's that's why I started the business, was to try to actually help more patients get better diagnostics, especially in really rural areas where they're very underserved, and international markets where the diagnostics are pretty abysmal.
Yeah, no, and that's great, hearing that you guys are able to catch other cancers that may have been missed. And of course, the access to care and being able to expand that is incredible. So thank you, Dan, for, your presentation today and sharing all the great success of PathologyWatch.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate it.
All right, so we'll go to our next presentation, and this is Cardiowave.
Hi. I'm Benjamin Bertrand, the CEO of Cardiowave, a clinical stage company which develops Valvosoft, a non-invasive medical device to treat aortic stenosis with ultrasounds. Aortic stenosis is a disease where the aortic valve calcifies and over time can barely open, leading to poor blood perfusion of the body and sudden death. It's a life-threatening disease affecting 10 million people in Western countries aged 65 and over. Today, only the very sick patients at the severe and symptomatic stage on the right of the figure with high risks of sudden death are treated, because the mortality risk and cost remain high with the current medical response, which consists in replacing aortic valve with an artificial one. This unmet medical need is growing with the aging population in Western countries, and also thanks to better diagnosis. You can see in the blue circles all the patient population that Cardiowave intends to treat with its unique Valvosoft device, which combines real-time imaging and ultrasound therapy protected by 7 patent families. Our non-invasive ultrasound therapy softens the valve tissue, restores the leaflet mobility, and enables a wider opening of the aortic valve. Benefits are immense for all key stakeholders. Patients not eligible to current medical treatment can be effectively treated. We hope to treat all patients at every stage of the disease, even as a preventive treatment. Being non-invasive, we expect to lower risks and complications. Being ambulatory, the cost to treat the patients should decrease. We have successfully completed a first-in-human study with 10 patients, and to date, 30 patients have been treated in Europe. We intend to start an early feasibility study in the US at the beginning of 2022 and to obtain breakthrough technology designation. If we equip all large 2,500 large cardiac centers in Western Europe, recurring revenue could reach 500 million euros, corresponding to 250,000 procedures per year. CE marking is expected in 2023, pre-market approval in the US in 2024, and we are seeking a 20 million euro round to finance until early 2024 the clinical trials in the US, obtain CE marking, manufacture our device, and record our first sales. Cardiowave has a very talented and committed team led by an experienced management who has already run medtechs in the cardiology space. To conclude, we strongly believe we can become one of the leaders in the non-invasive surgery field, as we intend to treat other diseases with our ultrasound therapy. Thank you for your attention.
I was just notified I was muted. So talking into the ether over here. So that was one of our mid-stage companies, Cardiowave. So unfortunately, they're not joining the live Q&A, but that's okay. We're going to go on to our next batch of companies, which will start at 11 a.m. So we're going to take a quick break. But I also just wanted to point out before we do that, that all the companies you're seeing today are in our mid-stage cohort. So they're a little bit more advanced than our earlier stage accelerator companies. And in total, they were all selected out of over 1,100 applicants. So, really high quality and best of the best in terms of our medtech space. So with that, I'm going to take us into a 10-minute break, and we will resume our showcase at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so we're just coming back after that short break. We're going to resume our mid-stage showcase. These are all companies that have been selected out of our over 1,100 applications this year, representing the best and brightest in the MedTech industry. So kicking things off is our next presentation by Zealth.
Hi, we're Zealth. Thanks for stopping by. If you're like many people, it's easy to be overwhelmed by the state of digital health. There's more and more apps on the market every day. And even if you can pick one, you still have to figure out how to get it integrated into your EMR and actually get your doctors and patients to use it. We all know digital health is the future. The question is, how to do it today. Hospital IT teams wonder how to integrate all the various vendors their doctors want to use, and how to manage security and information access to these apps. Doctors wonder how to take advantage of these tools without adding work to their already overloaded schedules. And patients wonder how these tools work. Instead of being stuck in chaos, trying to figure out where to start, take control of your digital health strategy with Zealth. Using Zealth gives you a platform and a partner to manage all of the digital tools your hospitals use with patients. With the Zealth integration layer, we take the burden off of IT, working like a power strip for your EHR. Just plug us in and we'll take care of connecting up the rest of your tools. By providing a clinical interface that sits inside your existing EHR, your doctors will love how Zealth seamlessly integrates into the workflows they use today, and allows them to use all kinds of digital tools from where they work the most. And through our digital command center, you can easily see how all the various digital tools are performing across your organization, allowing you to compare tools and troubleshoot problems with ease. And most importantly, Zealth is more than just apps and devices. We can help you across every service line with your entire digital formulary. We've worked with many hospitals just like yours to power digital health use cases across service lines. We freed up doctors and staff by automating patient education, from getting patients ready for their first telemedicine visit to making sure they know what services your hospital can offer. We've helped streamline the process of getting patients connected with apps ranging from behavioral health to maternity. And we've worked with hospitals to automatically prepare patients for surgeries, connecting them with both digital and physical products to help them feel safe about coming back in for standard care and helping teams care for and monitor the patient at home. So let's talk more about how Zealth can help you take advantage of digital tools today, easily integrated and working throughout your entire organization. Zealth. We connect digital health to you so you can focus on what's important.
Great. And now I'm joined by Cynthia from Zealth. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi.
So one thing we didn't get to see in the presentation was the team. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and the team.
So the team was founded, Zealth was founded by a team of consumer technology and multimedia experts had previously founded Swipe, which is an interactive touchscreen keyboard where you drag your hand across the keyboard, so an accessibility tool. And they were based in Seattle and knew people in the Providence Health Network, so decided to work with them to see if they could apply what they knew from consumer tech to healthcare to bridge that divide between doctors and consumers. I came on slightly after they joined. I'd been at UPMC for 6 years, so I brought the healthcare and business of healthcare expertise to the executive team. And we have about 50 people, a good mix between engineering, product people, and some client-facing experts too.
Right. And yeah, I mean, with that team, you guys, obviously are well on your way. So tell us a bit more about the traction. I know you've got some hospital partners. What has been their feedback? What's the ROI you're seeing for the hospitals you work with?
Okay. So for our hospitals, we've just over a dozen clients, and Cerner invested in us last year and has a reseller agreement with us. So together with that, we're now going after that market. The majority of the business were Epic clients, so that was the harder one to handle the EHR integration first. So glad we got that out of the way. The big ROI is around how do we help hospitals get organized around digital health so that they can point digital health towards measures that are really important. So you've got patient engagement, of course, like you want to engage with your patients better, but to what end? Well, that's about loyalty and about stickiness to the system and retaining patients. There's also clinician productivity. You know, the whole, well, clinicians want to practice at the top of their license. So how can we help drive that by enabling them to use digital tools to care for some patients? And then there's also an IT and IS efficiency gain. So if you just get everything done once, then you don't have to deal with lots of different vendors.
Awesome. Yeah, and there's no doubt that, you know, a technology like yours really provides a lot of value to these hospital systems who are managing and kind of navigating this world with all these digital health tools and getting those to patients and having your physicians use those as well. So that's great that you guys have had such great traction. I guess the last question for you now is about what the future looks like. So, you know, are you guys raising any funding, looking for any partners? What can people help you out with?
A little bit of both. So yes, on funding and looking at, we have most of the big blue chip health hospital systems. So Providence, UPMC, Mass General Brigham, Advocate Aurora. So although we don't have a large volume of clients, we're reaching like 35 million outpatient visits or patient visits or something a year. So we're touching a lot of patients. And we're thinking there's now an opportunity for us to help those who are seeking to be distributed. So digital health vendors, solutions, everything from companion apps that go with pharma products through to different patient education. Payers want their member communications to be shared with their doctors, so the payer-provider collaboration. So now that we've got enough scale and we're no longer like a pilot solution, we're embedded and working in these systems, who can we partner with to try to help expand the reach and expand really some of the funding and the reasons for these health systems to be able to expand their own digital health programs.
Yeah, that's amazing. 35 million patients that you guys are helping, in one way or another is such an incredible statistic to be able to point to. And we're certainly looking forward to working with you guys more for our audience out there. And reminder, you can connect with the Zealth team through the platform, or you can reach out to MedTech Innovator, and we're happy to make an introduction. So thank you, Cynthia, for joining me.
Thank you for having us. It's been great.
Okay, so let's move on to the next company. This is Cohort.
Hello, everyone. Everybody knows about heart failure, right? But how come 50% HFpEF patients remain untreated with no significant benefit from currently available treatments? Hi, my name is Gideon Meyer-Bronitz, and I'm the CEO of Corsys Cardiovascular. And today I'm going to explain how Corsys has developed a unique cardiac implant that would dramatically change the lives of these patients. Heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. It's a condition where the heart cannot dilate properly due to the stiffening of the left ventricle, while the contraction is maintained. 5-year mortality rates approaching 60% for these patients, and 50% are readmitting within 6 months of discharge. There is no proven drug or device-based treatment that has been shown to be beneficial for these patients, but we think we have a solution for that. Introducing Corolla, the first and only passive assist device to directly address the diastolic function of the heart. Now that's a new idea. And this is a device, an intraventricular self-expanding spring-like device uniquely designed to assist heart function by directly improving LV diastolic dynamics. We are treating a mechanical problem with a mechanical solution by transferring elastic energy from the preserved systole to the impaired diastole. There are 2 ways of implanting the Corolla. First generation transapical implantation is already in the clinical phase, and the second generation catheter approach, which is in R&D development. In the X-ray video, you can see that there are first patient's 2-year follow-up. The device is still performing without any deficiency. The patient has indicated his quality of life has been improved dramatically, and he's not readmitting, and he's looking okay. The heart failure treatment device market is expected to grow very rapidly in the coming years. Estimated 2 million existing patients that are suitable for the Corolla implantation, projecting a $40 billion market. in addition to 350,000 new annual cases. With only 5% penetration, we can achieve projected sales of $350 million per year. And this is the plan to go forward. We need $8 million for designing and validating the second generation catheter system and starting the first in human enrollment by 2023, starting the CE and FDA studies by 2025 with additional capital of $10 million, followed by strategic investment to complete the pivotal study expected by 28. In summary, we have early promising results from the first in human study, next generation technology, passive assist device targeting the problem, not only the symptom, 4 granted patents, untreated billion-dollar market with a real clinical need. HFpEF is on the spotlight, generating high interest in corporate giants. We have an experienced team seeking for capital and open for terms. If you are interested in joining us, helping these patients, please contact us. Thank you very much.
All right, and so now I'm joined here, the Core Assist team. So thank you for that presentation, Gideon, and thanks for joining us. I think you're in Israel, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned your first in human study. So tell us a little bit about the follow-up that you've done on that and what those results have been like.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, the follow-up from your first in human studies.
Well, we've managed to do a few studies along the years. The first study was in an external device that was implanted on the heart. We've done 7 patients there that we had the initial results for the technology. Afterwards, we've done an additional 3 patients with the internal device, what we're doing today, but as an add-on to transaortic valve replacement. We had some initial results there and also complications that meant that we needed to change our approach to an only implantation of our device and not as an add-on to aortic valve replacement. We have done additional 3 patients in Israel, also had some success and some complications, of course. This is a very disruptive device. A lot of these kind of patients are very, very sick, and you have to choose them very, very precisely because if you get them too late, then you have complications that usually are not resulting from our device, but only from the implantation. So we have some very nice success with the one patient that we had 4 years ago. He's feeling a lot better. He had a class 3 diastolic heart failure, and today he's not, he's not getting younger. He's not getting better in his life because he has the kidney failure. He has not respiratory failure, but orthopedic failure, everything. But he is not getting worse, and he has a very improvement in his life. Quality of life. So this is initial results which are very encouraging for us, and we're looking to do a pivot in our technology to make it a non-invasive approach in a catheter kind of delivery system that will reduce the complications for a surgical procedure, and of course bring more patients which are not so severe. Usually they come for a study like this when they don't have any kind of treatment. But we don't want to approach these kind of patients. We want to get to the more moderate patients. So we will have easier time caring for them. And also the doctors will be more eager, more compelled to bring these patients to us. I hope it was short.
Yes, no, and that's an incredible mission and purpose, and it looks like you've got some good and encouraging initial data there. I guess as a last question, what are you kind of looking forward to? What kind of resources or investment are you looking forward to?
Yeah, great question. Of course, we're here for getting the resources. This is the most important part of this project today. And we're looking for the, of course, for the strategic partners who will partner us that understand the market, that understand heart failure, and of course understand the heart failure with the preserved ejection fraction that has no real treatment for today for these patients. So it's a huge market and a huge value for the partners that will join us. And of course, we are looking in, because we're in a kind of early stage in the catheter approach. So we are open for terms to get to VCs and family offices. Everyone who understands the markets and knows the complexity of it's not a simple device, it's a PMA device. It takes time to bring this to the market, but the heart failure is not going anywhere. It's going to stay. And it's only getting worse because of the lifestyle, the modern lifestyle, and the elderly population. So the market is only getting bigger, and we don't see a lot of solutions out there. And even if there were solutions, we are treating patients who don't have the solutions that other competitors can treat. So for me, it's an amazing opportunity, and also I think for the investors. I mean, an opportunity for making an improvement in the life of these patients.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to get at. You guys are, helping a very sick population, and we're certainly happy to be on this journey with you, and hopefully can find some of those resources you're looking for in our broader ecosystem and in the audience today at Wilson Sonsini. So thank you, Gideon, for joining me all the way from Israel.
Thank you very much.
With that, I'm going to invite my colleague, Brian Benson. He is our VP of Strategic Alliances and will be taking over the show. Brian.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you. Great job so far. It's always, again, impressive to see all the great work the companies have done before joining MedTech Innovator, and especially after joining the program, and all the traction they've made since. So hopefully today is another great venue for them to engage with the investment community at Wilson Sonsini. And I'll see you later, Catherine. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian. See you later.
All right. So next up, we have Applaud Medical. And again, during the video, feel free to submit your questions so we can get them addressed during the live Q&A with the company.
Hello, I'm Tom Kenny. I'm CEO and co-founder of Applaud Medical. Our company makes a lipid microbubble product that can be used for treatment of unwanted calcifications in the human anatomy. Our initial focus is on kidney stones, but we have many other applications in our pipeline. If you've ever had a kidney stone, you know these things are true. You know the stone is intensely painful, it's intolerable. You go to the emergency room to seek treatment and relief. And then what happens next is also not acceptable. You're either asked to wait a long time for the stone to pass, or you're provided a treatment that is not a particularly effective outcome for you. Kidney stones are a fast-growing problem in the US and around the world. This is mostly driven by aging populations and worsening diets and the obesity epidemic that we're all factors in. Over the last 30 years, the number of patients coming to the emergency room for kidney stones has roughly tripled in the US. There are similar trends elsewhere, and the overall cost of this condition is rising quickly and is really quite substantial. To address this problem, our team, led by myself, Marshall Stoller at UCSF, and Bob Grubbs at Caltech, have invented a lipid microbubble which binds calcium in the urinary system. This microbubble captures acoustic energy and causes cavitation, which fragments the kidney stone. You should think of the microbubble as a kind of cavitation amplifier. It provides new ways for treatment of kidney stones and improves existing methods. Our first product, which is in human clinical trials here in the US, uses our microbubbles with laser lithotripsy, a ureteroscopic procedure carried out in the operating room. What you see here is a kidney stone in a kidney. Here's the optical fiber at the tip of the ureteroscope. There's a camera taking this image. And this milky white solution that you see drifting inwards is our microbubble formulation. In a moment, the urologist will begin firing the infrared laser, which causes large bubbles to form and collapse, which causes fragmentation of the kidney stone. Each impulse of this laser creates an acoustic shock which triggers our microbubbles that are exposed and attached to all other surfaces of the stone during this procedure. So the effect of our bubbles is to cause parallel fragmentation on all exposed surfaces, attack fragments as they separate from the main stone. Altogether, we have a procedure that leads to smaller fragments, fewer fragments, faster treatments, and better outcomes for patients. We have launched our US pivotal trial on this product, which is regulated as a medical device. We expect to complete the trial this fall. We'll file for FDA de novo approval in the winter and expect to be ready to go to market summer of 2022. We have a second treatment in our pipeline for kidney stones of smaller sizes in the ureter, and we'll begin those procedures quite quickly as well. I should also mention that our microbubbles can be used to treat other unwanted calcifications, including calcifications that cause glaucoma, arteriosclerosis, peripheral vascular disease, and other maladies. So please think of us as a pipeline company. We're clinical stage, ready to go to market. We've completed recently a Series B financing, and we're very excited about our future. I look forward to talking to you about our company. Thank you.
All right, and I think we have Tom with us today. Hi, how you doing?
Very good. Hi, Brian.
Good to see you. Welcome. So great technology, very exciting potential for this. And I think one of the interesting perspectives that we got from our partners, and I'd love to get your take on this, is the challenge with something that is so universal. This could be used with any of the any laser system. How do you see that as a potential risk, if at all? Do you think it might be easier to pair up with one to highlight the use and then generate that adoption, or what is your strategy? Can you elaborate on that?
That's a great question. I think it's a benefit, actually. So that means our product can be used with all of the existing capital infrastructure currently used in hospitals for these procedures. We could be partnered up with a company that either produces the lasers or the optical fibers. Those are permanent or generally, long-term capital installations at hospitals. I think our most natural partner would be a company that distributes some of the disposable components of the same procedure, such as the disposable ureteroscope that is commonly used. So we're engaged with some discussions with some strategic partners around that kind of arrangement. And pending the results of our trial, I'm excited about how those are likely to proceed.
Yeah, I think that's again the interesting perspective that I have is kind of the different pros and cons between being agnostic and not. And I think there's a lot of exciting potential around that for you. As far as the clinical trials go, can you elaborate on where you are in that process and what you need to get to that next value inflection point?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we've just started our US pivotal trial just in the last couple of weeks. The trial will enroll 196 subjects. Half of them will get the conventional procedure, half will get the procedure plus our microbubbles. And we expect to show reduced rates of patients with residual fragments, shorter procedures, and less use of total radiant energy through the trial. If successful, we can use those results to apply for de novo approval. And so milestones, first subjects were treated about 3 weeks ago. We hope to enroll the entire trial by the fall. So sometime October, perhaps, we'll treat the last subject. We'll have all of our data in November or December and be ready to apply for a de novo clearance early next year.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And again, if you're interested in learning about Applaud Medical and the exciting progress of their clinical work and validation for their technology, please reach out to Tom and his team or ourselves during the conference or post. We'd love to get you connected and engage with this exciting technology. So thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
All right, we'll move on to our next company, Photonexus.
Hello, everybody. I'm Caitlin Cameron, Chair and CEO of Otonexus Medical Technologies, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share this wonderful story of this amazing company that has now developed a breakthrough medical device for the accurate diagnosis of middle ear infections in children, also in adults, though it's primarily a childhood problem. And we're in a really sweet spot to be able to minimize unneeded antibiotics in kids, greatly improve patient outcomes, and significantly reduce the cost of care. If you know anything about healthcare, you know it's very rare to get those last two at the same time. We not only have both of those, we also, in fact, have all three. We have the triumvirate of healthcare. So middle ear infections are called otitis media. It's a massive unmet medical need. It's absolutely ubiquitous. It is the #1 reason for antibiotics in kids. It's also the #1 reason for surgery in kids. Guess what? It's the #1 reason for hearing loss in kids. It's estimated to cost us up to $15 billion a year every year in the United States, responsible for 30 million pediatric doctor visits every single year just in the United States alone. So these are the United States numbers. This is a worldwide problem. You can take those numbers times the world. You can see that this is huge. So this is a problem that affects millions and it costs billions. And despite all of that, clinical studies show that doctors get it wrong 50% of the time in differentiating a viral from a bacterial infection inside the middle ear. You can't blame the docs. It's not their fault. There's no technology, no technique today that can differentiate a viral from a bacterial infection inside the middle ear. So the CDC estimates that we prescribe antibiotics in 85% of the cases, and yet they're only appropriate in 15% or so of those cases. This is why we believe that we can reduce antibiotics, this #1 reason for antibiotics in kids, by 50%, simply by instantly giving the physician the data they need to know the difference. So how do we do this? With our absolute unique ultrasound technology, invented by us and very heavily patented. This is ultrasound unlike any other ultrasound you have ever seen. In this first product, it provides a beautiful recurring revenue stream, and that this device, which incorporates our patented technology into the speculum tip, 1 speculum tip per patient, throw it away, provides a beautiful recurring revenue stream for the company. And then looking forward, product line expansion on our first device, and then many additional devices that can be created with this unique true air ultrasound technology provide huge future revenue opportunities. This first device is the first and only device to identify both presence and type of infection, absolutely unique, and it does all of this in just 2 seconds or less. Our Novoscope can completely replace the otoscope, used for all things that they use an otoscope for, not just the ear, but the eyes, the nose, the throat, the skin, anything else. But if you want to get an ultrasound reading in the ear, it will provide that result in 2 seconds or less. So this is the right product at the right time with the right team. We have a breakthrough technology, a recurring revenue stream, a highly differentiated product, an experienced team, and a very successful track record. I'm Caitlin Cameron. This is my contact information. We very much look forward to seeing you at this conference. Thank you.
Wow, that really summed up the potential for that. I'd like to call on to stage Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. How you
Hi, Brian.
doing?
How are you? I'm terrific. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great. Great presentation, really exciting technology. And I'm interested to get your take on what you have found to break through a challenge that many companies have failed at. What is the key to your success in solving this problem?
Well, 2 things. First of all, obviously, ultrasound through air is very special and unique. So it's an invention of our chief scientific officer, who, by the way, was also an inventor on transcranial Doppler, which, as you know, is used all over the world today. And the other was our founder, Dr. George Gates, just kept at it. He spent 40 years, he's an ENT, spent 40 years treating these kids and saying there's got to be a better way, until he got transferred here to the University of Washington, ultrasound capital of the world, and got together with our CSO and created this technology. So it's built from people who understand this problem and how big it is and what we need to do about it, and people who are just brilliant technologists. I've got an amazing team.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think you really touched on that. The team really seems to be key, and it's always key for a lot of our companies. So it's great to hear that you guys are so well-rounded. As far as what you're looking for at this conference from an investment perspective, what do you need to get to the next stage of your technology and reach the patients?
Absolutely. So the good news is we already have huge pull from our customers, potential customers, pediatricians, and children's hospitals. In fact, we even have a strategic investment from a major children's hospital. And so we're at the step now, we're at the very late stage, getting ready to go to the FDA, got some testing to do and other work to do. We have a round open. We're actually extending the round because we were oversubscribed, which is a wonderful place to be oversubscribed on your own. But we decided to go ahead and lift the limit and let those folks in plus some other folks, because at this point it is very clear that demand is going to outstrip our current plan, and we want to invest more heavily in manufacturing, drive manufacturing harder, and satisfy that demand. We have about 2 years worth of demand already lined up. We want to satisfy that demand faster, which of course then has the result of driving the value of the company up faster. So it's a sweet spot where we do have a round open. We're looking for go-to-market funds, people who join us, strategic investments, funds that invest in companies like ours.
Great. Yeah, I think that that's very exciting, and a call to all those interested to get involved now before the good is gone, if you will. Yeah. So thank you, Caitlin, so much. I'm excited to continue to work with you and really excited about the potential for this technology. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for including us. I really appreciate this opportunity, and we look forward to talking to folks. Thanks, Brian.
Bye-bye. All right, now we will move on to our next company, Bruin Biomedical.
Hi, I'd like to say thank you to the MedTech Innovator program for bringing us forward to this stage of this wonderful multi-month engagement. We're really looking forward actually to presenting today, and also to working with your vendor partners over the next few months and hopefully into the next year. I want to introduce you, please, to the topic of bed sores or pressure ulcers or pressure injuries, as they're called. Now, you know, I don't want your shoulders sagging and sighing, thinking, oh no, not about pressure ulcers again. We know this is a pernicious problem. And in actual fact, it's because of the perniciousness that we focused on it. They are, in fact, the #1 reported patient harm in many US states, and they disproportionately affect dark skin tone patients and actually COVID patients. Our veterans are also chronically affected by them. And the question that comes up all the time is, why are they still occurring? The answer comes down to one word: latency. It's a latency of detection, and it's a latency of intervention at the anatomy being affected by the wound. I want to introduce you to Prebizio SEM scanner. Our device exploits the properties of capacitance, uses physics, in other words, to assess patients at risk for pressure ulcers at the areas most at risk for pressure ulceration: sacrum and the heels. When used in clinical practice, the clinical results are quite extraordinary. More than a 90% reduction in the incidence of pressure ulcers. When you compare the kind of incidence that occurs in a US setting that's not yet using the scanner, and I'm just picking here on NY Presbyterian, not for any reason, just that they've got great public data, versus a user in the United Kingdom, equally prestigious facility, where they actually managed to achieve a 0 incidence rate over many, many months across 4 wards and 2 hospital settings. And for the price of one of these, which is the disposable sensor, what you have is the ability to achieve that incidence reduction. We have an abundance of evidence. We've won, thankfully, a lot of awards and have quite a lot of IP issued already. We already have regulatory approval, both in the US and outside the US. And now we're going on the journey, which we want you to be part of digitizing the care pathway, of modernizing it. You can see here the timeline. We're well ahead of the schedule on the timeline. We're doing EMR integration, but really the goal here is modernizing a very outdated care pathway. That's what we're doing. That's the discussion we're having today. We have a tremendous team of people in the form of a great board. You can see here that we've got the CEO of Arjo, our commercial partner. We're backed up by an incredible venture capitalist and a former partner from Latham & Watkins, together with the founder and myself. And then we have an amazing global advisory board. And the advisory board are drawn from the very best people, the very best researchers all across the world, dedicated to making prevention a reality. We really look forward to going on this journey with you.
All right, I'd like to call onto the stage the Bruin Biometrics team. I believe we have Martin here with us.
Hey, Brian.
Martin.
Hi.
Doing well. Thanks for joining us. So I'm really interested in how you've integrated into the workflow. One of the biggest challenges is that seamless integration, and how do you feel like you've cracked kind of that nut, if you will, in solving that seamless aspect of your technology?
So pressure ulcers occur in acute care settings and in post-acute settings, so pretty much in any place that care is provided. And they also occur in people's homes, which are typically accidents. But if you just focus in on the where care is provided part first, we benefited enormously from the fact that there is already a well-established care pathway. It starts with a risk assessment of the patient. In the US, the most used risk assessment is called the Braden scale. And what Braden does is say, I know that a particular patient is at risk for a pressure ulcer. Okay. The issue that the practitioners experience, though, is where? Where is my patient at risk? That Braden scale cannot answer that question. So what happens is they do a skin and tissue assessment, which is essentially a visual assessment, and that then tries to address the issue of where. But it's late, it's very late, hence this word latency. And we fit in between. So without the skin being red, without it having visible signs of damage, we then slot in between. We know the patient's at risk, we can't see any damage, but the scanner is saying, it's actually the left heel of the particular patient. That's what you do. And it fits in there.
Great. Yeah, I think that unique understanding of the whole patient journey is really key to your success thus far, and hopefully continued. As far as the other applications for your technology, this could be a multitude of different potential applications. I'm sure I see you shaking your head as if that's obvious. Can you maybe elaborate on other indications that you're also pursuing in addition to this?
Yeah, so sticking within the world of pressure ulcers first, I don't know if you've been seeing the imagery of practitioners who have suffered from what look like bruises on their nose and the cheeks of their bones. They're not bruises. Those are actual pressure ulcers, pressure injuries that are occurring. So the next area where we expand our indication is towards PPE related and for patients medical device related pressure injuries. So those are caused by CPAP masks mostly. That's within PUs. But beyond that, diabetic foot ulcer patients in particular exhibit a chronic deficiency of blood flow and oxygenation to the lower extremities. It's actually quite hard to be able to diagnose with any degree of diagnostic accuracy, and the information is poor. What we're doing there is actually adding on subepidermal moisture or inflammatory data around inflammation to the diagnostic path for podiatrists. Those research activities are underway at the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland at the moment, and we're enrolling about 300 subjects in that study.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for this. So if you're interested in getting in on the ground floor, or maybe the second floor, if you will, for this exciting team and the potential that they have across these variety of applications, please reach out to Martin and his team at Bruin Biometrics. Thank you, Martin, so much for your time today.
Brian, thank you, and well done for this. It's terrific.
All right. So now we'll move on to our next company, Avodamed.
Welcome to Avodamed. Avodamed is an advanced next-generation telehealth company. We often call ourselves Telehealth 2.0. What Avodamed does, no other telehealth company does, and that is apply artificial intelligence and computer vision live in the middle of a patient and doctor visit. We provide unique insights for the patient as well as for the doctor. On top of that, we provide scheduling that will integrate with the workflow of the practice so it doesn't disrupt their workflow, and EMR integration so the doctor doesn't need to change their EMR. Our primary customers are telehealth providers, healthcare providers, and doctors. Avodamed white labels our service, so it's the doctor, healthcare provider, or the telehealth solution that is bringing our technology into the home, not Avoda. We are projecting conservatively 105 million by 2024. I have assembled a team with over 77 years experience in bringing new technologies to bear nationally. We are at the tail end of a fundraising round. I need $1 million left. I've raised $6 million to date. What I'd like to do is take a moment and give you a short story, giving an example how we're utilizing our technology where computer vision is looking at a patient healing, as well as providing translation services between the patient and the doctor automatically. In this case, you will notice it is sign language. Our company started with the ability to translate sign language, and we are using this same technology to keep our competitive advantage for our investors on the new healthcare platform. So take a moment, watch the video, and I'll be right back.
Andy has congestive heart failure and is home from the hospital after surgery. Using Med technology, he is empowered to track his health in one place. Andy's primary care physician can provide better care for him by empowering Andy to check his vitals from home regularly. Using the camera on Andy's device, his doctor is also able to monitor how the incision is healing. Andy and his doctor are also able to communicate directly in real time through language capture and translation. Patients can connect with their doctors remotely with the same capability for diagnosis and treatment as an office visit. Med unlocks care through intelligent tools and services by improving care for you, your doctor, and your loved ones.
My name again is Sean Ring, and I would love the opportunity to answer any more questions, demo the technology, let you understand a little bit more of our financials and where we're going and how we're getting there, and also introduce you to our partners and how we're taking this technology to market. I look forward to speaking with you sooner. Thank you for your time.
All right, I love the video. It really hones in on what you're exactly doing. There's a lot of platforms that don't really get into the meat of the specifics, so it was great to see that. So thank you, Sean, and welcome to the stage. How you doing?
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to kind of hear about your technology a little bit more. I think one of the issues that we've heard from our partners or concerns is on the security side. That's a big challenge, I think, for a lot of digital health solutions that are feeding data both into the EHR and pulling it out. How are you addressing the security side of things?
Yeah, well, first of all, in our industry, as many of the medical environment knows, HIPAA is a major issue in how you deal with data and how you encrypt it and how you pass the data. And then ultimately, who owns the data and where's that data stored? We have a security team that manages the data. They've done it for the intelligence community. We've had several other projects in the medical environment as well. So we have that covered. It's been a major issue on how we deal with it, what data gets passed between the EMR and the telehealth platform. There's a pretty high availability of information that we have. We can give those that are interested and would like to explore what security measures we do take and how we do handle the data, but we are HIPAA compliant.
Great, thank you for that. Yeah, I think the level of confidence is pretty clear, and the intelligence agency, if those are the people that are working for you, that's definitely reassuring for some people. As far as kind of the landscape goes, how do you see your technology competing with others in this space? AI is, I feel like, a buzzword used maybe too often, which dilutes the real value of the technologies being developed. Can you elaborate on what you have done to differentiate yourself in this space?
Yeah, our leading, I mentioned it early on in that video we just watched in the presentation where we started with sign language. How we did that is between a video conference call, we embedded AI. We use our own video conferencing engines. The AI is resident. It is actually looking at the individual, 5,000 points on the human body, sound. We're also grabbing vitals. We can grab blood pressure and other aspects as we're looking at the patient or even engaging with the doctor. We pivoted the sign language technology into the healthcare environment. Our biggest differentiator is live AI embedded in the video conferencing environment that pulls vitals, pulls information. It increases visibility for the doctor to the patient, and it allows for live interaction of that data. Most of the competition that's out there are using flat video conferencing engines, which is yesterday. And today we're moving into an environment where deregulation, the market, our patients are being better informed, doctors, the need for better remote care is driving this topic. And Avoda Med's coming in with a technology that enhances a remote visit with so many more tools that give the doctor and the patient ongoing support. It's a powerful thing. I've been engaged in the medical environment since COVID, pitching and talking and working with other telehealth providers. We are the only one that is doing live AI. Most of the AI that's embedded today in other companies are just looking at data analytics. That's a key. We're still employing that, but it's a lag. We've got a lead indicator on AI working with the patient, the doctor live.
Awesome. Yeah, Sean, that's very exciting. And I'm excited to continue to work with you throughout the program. So thank you for your time. And if you're interested in joining Sean in the future of the technology and the AI space and supporting them in their journey, please reach out to the Avoda Med team or our MedTech Innovator team, and we will happily connect you. Thank you, Sean, so much.
Brian, this is wonderful. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next company, which will be Universal Diagnostics.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Hens. I'm Managing Director of Universal Diagnostics. % of all of us will develop cancer in their lives. But the question is, who, where in your body, and at what age? The only structured solution to cancer is early detection or ideally prevention. When you look at the 5-year survival rates of colorectal cancer patients, you see that detecting colorectal cancer in stage 1 is linked with a survival rate of 94% versus only 11% in stage 4. So detecting it early, or ideally in the pre-cancer stage where survival is 100% secured, that is what makes the difference for cancers. That's what we're all about at Universal Diagnostics. We want to create a future where cancer is curable. And with that, we're tapping into a very large total addressable market of $50 billion. We're most advanced on colorectal cancer, where we know today's tests struggle. Colonoscopy is invasive, it's costly, and many people don't want to do it, suffering therefore from low patient compliance. Fecal tests, on the other side, are unpleasant, inaccurate, and again, few patients want to do it, resulting in low patient compliance. That's why we're developing a blood-based test. We've recently shown at EACR and ASCO that we can get to outstanding accuracies, not only on colorectal cancer, where we had 92% sensitivity and 97% specificity, but also on the pre-cancer stage, where we had 55% sensitivity and 90% specificity. This test in the market will therefore not only reduce mortality from colorectal cancer, but also incident rates. That's what makes a huge difference. We're developing it with a very multidisciplinary, well-experienced team that brings perspective from very different angles. Our next steps are bringing this test to the market. It needs to be FDA approved with a clinical validation trial. Second step will be getting CMS reimbursement, which CMS has decided at the beginning of 2021 that this will be guaranteed with an FDA approval and 74% sensitivity and 90% specificity, where we know that we far outperform these thresholds. Once achieved that, we would commercialize the test with a broad partner network. Thank you very much.
All right, now I'd like to call Christian on the stage. Thank you. I know you're coming all the way from Spain, so thanks for dealing with the time difference.
Not at all, Brian. Good to see you, and thanks for having us. What a great opportunity.
Yes, I mean, and what an exciting technology that you've built, and the potential is really robust. I'd love to kind of hear about your perspective and stage, or your perspective on the stage where you are on the clinical trial, as that is very pivotal to validate your technology. So can you elaborate on where you are in that perspective?
Yeah, exactly. So this outstanding ASCO data we presented on colorectal cancer and advanced adenoma, that has brought us to the inflection point now to focus on getting this test to the market. And that is exactly as you say. The next steps for us is pivotal trial with the FDA, then getting it reimbursed. And that decision from CMS recently to reimburse any colorectal cancer liquid biopsy test that is FDA approved and reaches 74% sensitivity and 90% specificity, where we far outperform this accuracy, is really the guarantee to make it then a successful commercialization, which we want to do with partners. And it's one of the reasons why we're here, essentially looking for commercialization partners going forward.
So can you elaborate on the type of partner you're looking to engage and that would really help you get to that next level and reach the market?
Yes, I mean, we're looking for partners that could be clinical labs, that could be fellow Baptist station infrastructure providers, sales channels. That is diagnostics company who want to tap into this huge 20 billion colorectal cancer screening market would be fantastic partners, or companies that are in some space of cancer treatment or cancer diagnostics who want to look into screening for colorectal cancer. All of those companies are really exciting potential partners for us.
Awesome. Yeah, and that is definitely one of the strengths of MedTech Innovator, is connecting you with those right partners, and we're happy to do that, and we're underway with that as the program starts. So we're excited to welcome you into the family for this year's cohort, and definitely going to put all our efforts behind you and the other companies. But if you are here today at the showcase and you want to support Christian and Universal Diagnostics on their journey to get to the market, please engage them or reach out to MedTech Innovator, myself, Catherine Zavala, or Paul Grand, and we will happily connect you with the companies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Thank you.
Our next company up is Alio.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Kurguntla, co-founder and CEO of Alio. Alio is tackling one of the biggest problems in healthcare today, which is a large number of kidney patients suffering from common issues such as heart failure, vascular access issues, and electrolyte abnormality. Despite being a small percentage of the population, they're an outsized portion of the cost and spend on average almost 2 weeks a year in the ICU. What we saw is that some of our partners, like the National Health Service out in the UK, were sending nurses 50 miles each way, twice a week, to do blood draws on patients, and saw that they could prevent costly hospitalizations. But they needed a better way to address their labor resources, and we looked towards Alio's end-to-end remote patient monitoring platform, which starts off with a non-invasive wearable, collecting data passively, transmitting that into the cloud via cellular modem, where we utilize our proprietary algorithms to generate clinically actionable alerts for the clinician. We do that because of how we get that data from a 3D holographic image of the underlying vessel, rather than just off the capillary bed like most technologies today. This means we can push past the basic vitals and into more interesting areas like heart failure metrics like H&H and blood pressure, all with zero calibration technologies, and into things like managing the vascular access, the flow, and even the percent blockage of a vessel along the upper extremity. And last but not least, we leveraged our AI platform to generate insights on potassium to prevent potentially fatal arrhythmias. The seas of change are really in our favor in terms of how the revenue model and reimbursement is being brought to bear. No longer is it simply fee for service, but now value-based models that align the patient, physician, provider, and payer have come to bear. This means we've got a tremendous number of amazing partners who are not only very excited about our potential in dialysis, but in adjacent markets as well, leading to a scalable platform in a very large remote monitoring market. Because of this, we are raising funding for growth to enable our initial commercialization in dialysis, along with continuing to do clinical studies in the heart failure arena. At the end of the day, Aleo is a world-class wearable which generates clinically actionable data and integrates that directly into clinical workflows. I look forward to sharing more about the Aleo story with you. Thanks again for your time.
All right, that was very fantastic. So now we have with us David. Hi, David. How you doing?
Hey, Brian. Doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. I like your background. Very interesting. So, clinical data reliability. Can you elaborate on how you're addressing the potential concern clinicians may have on that, which hinges on the likelihood for adoption for your technology?
Absolutely. Something I didn't get a chance to, but normally do is a little bit around how we compare to the gold standard of standard of care for each of those metrics. That is our goal. So to make all of those, whether that's something like a, for H&H, a blood draw, making sure that we're better than a non-invasive like a Massimo system or better than a HemaQ, which still requires a finger stick, being well beyond that standard of accuracy and much closer to a blood draw. Same thing for other things like a looking at faster access, making sure we're better than an ultrasound, just as good as an angiogram. That's where our data is at today.
That's very exciting. Yeah, I think gonna address some key concerns that may arise from a clinical adoption perspective. What are you looking for from the people here today at the Wilson Sonsini conference to help you get to the next level, the type of investors or even strategic partner engagement?
Absolutely. So we've been really blessed. We're getting close to on this round in terms of Series B. So it's very exciting. There's an opportunity to top that up with folks that want to continue supporting our commercialization here through the end of the year and early next year in the dialysis market, adding on to our revenue with the U.S. military right now. And then strategic partners is really exciting. So we've got some great blue chip hospital partners like Intermount and the NHS out in the UK. They're really adding to that sector, and being able to help distribute the product even more widely is certainly part of the reason why we're happy and proud to be a part of MTI.
Thank you. And we're proud to have you. I'm excited to continue to work with you and really help you grow beyond what you've already done. But you already have such a great track record. We're just going to give you some extra spice to your rocket fuel to get you all the way to the moon, if you will.
Awesome.
So thank you, David, so much for joining us. And again, please reach out to the Aleo team to learn more about their exciting technology.
Indeed. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, David. We'll move on to our next company, OnComfort.
Hi, I am Mario Huijer. I am the CEO of OnComfort, and we bring digital sedation, a digital therapy innovation to relieve pain and anxiety without using medication. This is a huge problem in interventional care, in 500 million interventions that are disturbed every year with bad outcome and more cost. Patients get more drugs because of their anxiety, and 60 to 80% of the patients suffer from anxiety, and the more drugs they get, the more adverse events they have. These drugs are often opioids, and they have a huge issue because the opioid crisis is a crisis of dependency, even registered by anesthesiologists. Our new technique is virtual reality-based digital sedation. It's an evidence-based technique to relieve patients' anxiety using virtual reality with clinical evidence-based sessions. 75,000 patients have been treated already across Europe in more than 100 hospitals. A significant amount of clinical studies prove the evidence of replacing or reducing pharmacological sedation or even avoiding general anesthesia by switching to local regional anesthesia plus digital sedation. It is a technology that provides definitely significant better patient care with high anxiety reduction, up to 54% pain reduction, replacement in up to 100% of the cases of opioids and sedatives, and shorter patient stays with 40% reduction, 0 reported side effects. And we just were awarded the Shared Patient Experience Award, the first European award on patient satisfaction and healthcare professional satisfaction in care. This besides 15 other international awards on technology, startup, and innovation. OnComfort's digital sedation company has been founded in 2017 with a strong team of co-founders which are extremely complementary and supported by a clinical advisory board of top-notch professionals. The medical device CE Class 1 and are ISO certified. We have multiple patents filed, and we raised up to $17 million in previous seed and 8 rounds. We're now scaling it globally in a market which is estimated about $4 billion. We expand to 12 European countries, and we go in 22 to the US for FDA and registration and to Canada, and plan a commercial entry in the US in 2023, which is going to be immediately followed by a financing C round. It is clear that our breakthrough drug-free pain and anxiety management digital sedation opens a new category that is growing into a standard of care. Thank you.
That was an exciting presentation. So thank you and welcome, Mario, all the way from far, far away in Belgium. Hopefully the time difference isn't gonna break your sleep cycle. But I think one of the interesting aspects and one of the probably common reactions you get when people hear this is non-drug sedation. What? Your patient's gonna wake up mid-surgery and botch the whole procedure. How do you address that concern from the skeptics?
We have been very much evaluating different sessions in clinical hypnotherapy implemented in our virtual reality. And it really proves that on all of the 80,000 patients in the meantime we have, on these patients, we have had no single case where we had patients kind of recovering during the intervention. So it's a really proven and validated technique of non-pharmacological sedation.
Great. And again, the data says it all, right? I think it's the proof's in the pudding for you, and you've done a very impressive job aggregating such a diverse subset of patient data to represent the potential applications for this technology. As far as entering the US, being a non-US company, can you elaborate on where you are and the challenges you're experiencing thus far, or if any?
Well, we are now preparing our entry in the US, and therefore we need to choose the right roadmap to FDA approval. That's the first thing, to get market entry. Secondarily, to also get clinical evidence created in the US with partners, which by this showcase we can potentially find, in order to really be ready for market entry in 2023.
That's exciting. And as far as the type of partners you're looking for or investors, can you elaborate on the funding that you're looking for and what you need to get into the US market?
Well, the first thing we look for is indeed partners who can help us to do the market entry and help us in the preparation of these regulatory approvals. Secondarily, we're looking to university centers, research centers that can help us to create more validated clinical data in the US. And then last but not least, we're kind of doing a next prepared B round, which is estimated to be about $30 million in 23, beginning of 23.
Exciting. So if you're interested in getting on board while the getting's good, please reach out to Mario and the team at OnComfort. There's a lot of potential for this technology, and we're appreciative of all the hard work that you've done and the unique perspective that you bring to the non-traditional treatment of anesthesiology. So thank you, Mario, and thank you to your team.
Thanks, Brian, for this opportunity.
All right, our next company will be WellLink.
I'm Jeff Matus. I'm President and Chief Commercial Officer of WellLinks, the company that is reinventing COPD care around the people who need it. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to talk about how we are pioneering integrated virtual COPD care. And we're going to move fast. So I want you to remember 3 things. First, it's that COPD is a massive unmet need, with 25 million people in the US alone living with the condition. It's the 5th most costly condition, and it's the 3rd leading cause of death. Second, we believe WellLinks has the right approach. We're taking the lead in truly integrated virtual COPD care, taking all the disparate components of COPD care and linking them to one another around the patient. Only we combine devices, software, coaching, and pulmonary rehabilitation into one full stack solution. And we've got a world-class team. We have the right experience mix of skills and drive it's going to take to really transform COPD care and build a great business along the way, delivering shareholder, patient, and clinician value. And maybe the 4th thing, just to introduce before we move on, is that there's construction going on in our office today. and I apologize for the noise. Just got to laugh it off sometimes. There's 25 million people living with COPD. The patient journey is fragmented. It's ending up in expensive ER visits and expensive hospital admissions. And when those patients leave the hospital, even in the best situation, they're readmitting at a 15 to 20% rate within 30 days. It's inexcusable. That drives $50 billion in costs. And what's going on behind the scenes is that there's 18,000 patients to every one pulmonary rehabilitation center. They're concentrated in rural America, where healthcare often is not. And the most exposed payer to these problems is Medicare, which we don't typically associate with innovation. Well, WellLinks has spent a lot of time understanding the unique needs of people living with COPD. It all started off when our founder, Dr. Ralph Finger, went out to create a new device to help his family who was living with respiratory diseases. He developed and launched this product called Flip Nebulizer, which was our first product. It was a leading FDA-cleared pocket portable nebulizer that we brought to the market in 2017. We sold direct to consumer. We went to CVS and partnered with their health hubs, and ultimately acquired about 20,000 COPD patients who we created one-on-one longitudinal relationships with. Those have become a huge body to inform the work that we're doing today. And through learning about those people living with COPD and getting really close to their needs, we've understood that to really take it to the next level and tackle the biggest challenges in COPD care, we needed a fully integrated digital and virtual solution. So we acquired and brought in WellLinks and became the company we are today. We understand those unique needs of the COPD patients. We care deeply, and it's in our DNA to want to build solutions for they and their care teams. To that end, we're proud to introduce the first fully integrated virtual COPD solution. What's integrated? Coaching and monitoring, virtual pulmonary rehabilitation, and connected devices and patient apps that are COPD specific. It starts with your devices. So what's in the hand? A portable spirometer, measures peak flow and FEV1, a pulse oximeter for SpO2 and heart rate, and our proprietary connected Flip Nebulizer to deliver 7-minute nebulizer treatments and track them in the app. Each of these communicate with an iPhone or Android app, where you can see on this screen, for example, the patient is able to check the weather report, see what they have to do today. It could be diagnostic tests or take certain medications. And they're able to see a home base where they can pull educational resources, communicate with their coach, and use it just as a centering tool. They're also able to log and track any kind of symptoms that they might be having associated with the condition. The coach is really where we're separated from the monitoring companies, for example. So our coaches connect with these patients individually on a bi-weekly basis and really get to know them, help them navigate through their care, and focus on behavioral and motivational goal setting, which has been shown to drive clinical and economic improvements. They're purpose-built the platform that they use, so all this information is stored in HIPAA compliant and secure servers. And virtual pulmonary rehab. Did you know pulmonary rehab returns $4 to every dollar invested, but less than 10% ever go on to use the program? Why? It's because of access and expense. So we solve for both of those things. We make it more efficient for patients to access high quality pulmonary rehabilitation. We have on-demand content that we can deliver at home, coaching support, so everything's delivered through that coach in those bi-weekly sessions, and live telepulmonary rehab sessions where patients can meet with an RT in a group or individual setting. We have a great team. Check us out on LinkedIn to learn more. And I thank you so much for your time today. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Again, my name is Jeff Matus. I'm with WellLinks, and join us in reinventing respiratory care around the people who need it. Thanks so much.
All right, we have Ritesh joining us from the WellLink team. How you doing?
Hey, Brian, doing well. How are you?
Good. So one of the things I wanted to touch on, which we clearly didn't get to at the end, is the team. I think that's really one of the strengths of what you have built around the technology and what has driven the innovation and the adoption thus far. Can you elaborate on the team currently with WellLinks?
Definitely. So the leadership at WellLinks, as Jeff alluded to in the video, comes from various backgrounds, but all that feed well into our final fully integrated solution that he described. So WellLinks as a brand was acquired a few years ago now, and the team from that end brought in heavy expertise in software solutions and connecting the different aspects of patient care. And we also have, from the device side, of course, our lead asset is that Flip Nebulizer. So deep expertise on that side. Beyond that, we also, on the finance side, have experience in pharma in terms of healthcare, and on the commercial side, regulatory and manufacturing experience coming from other medical device companies and pharmaceutical companies.
Wow, that's you got it all. You checked all the key boxes, I think, when it comes to our evaluation, which obviously is why you're a part of the cohort this year. But one of the things that I think is is a systemic challenge in the rehab space is compliance. Can you elaborate on how you are addressing that in a non-traditional way than companies have in the past to ensure or increase the likelihood for compliance?
Definitely. Compliance, meaning with whatever treatment plan is being recommended by the clinician. Definitely. So I think a large benefit that we have in our service is the health coaching platform. Our health coaching is entirely patient motivated. So while the coach is there to help you identify, barriers or successes that week, the patient themselves is setting the goals for different activities they want to complete, which helps them attach these lofty goals that may be related to COPD and seem unattainable to more actionable, valuable things in their day-to-day life. So we see that as being a big value add for how patients interact with the product, because they're speaking to a person who understands their values and their mission. And we hope, and it's been proven that really helps with compliance when it comes to treatment plans.
Yeah, I think that again is one of the systemic issues that you've done a great job trying to address and mitigate, which we believe will increase the likelihood for your company reaching the market and the patients that need them most. So as far as today goes, I know you're planning to raise a new round in the near future. So can you elaborate on the funding that you're looking for in the upcoming months and what you are hoping to get out of the conference?
Definitely. We are raising a new round in the very near future. And even on the product side, we're looking to partner with health systems or chat with health plans even about further piloting the product. Every health system is different, has already different offerings for COPD patients. So we want to make sure our solution fits in well with whatever a health system has already offering. So any sort of prospects in terms of raising funds for such an idea or piloting our program to collect real world evidence would be greatly appreciated. Of course, you saw Jeff give a presentation. He would be the person to connect with or reach out to me and I can put you in contact with him.
Great. Well, thank you so much again for taking some Q&A from me. And thank you to all of our companies that presented today and yesterday during the conference. We've had over 50 companies present during the showcase here at Wilson Sonsini. So thank you all for joining and listening in. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as well as all of our companies and answer some unique questions that you had posed during the Q&A sessions. So hopefully you had an opportunity to engage with the companies from our cohort. If not, again, please reach out to myself, Brian Benson, or Catherine Zavala, or Paul Grand at MedTech Innovator. I would be happy to connect you with some of our most exciting companies in the MedTech space.